Hello, everyone. This is Critical. The history of me running into the living room and possibly playing copyrighted audio during the intro of this podcast.
Oh
It's
well.
so weird to say it this week of all weeks, given recent events. But I'm Mongo, joined as always by my co-host Liger Busa. We had originally planned to not record this week because it turned out I had to work, and I messaged you. What was it, like 2 days ago? And I was like, "Fuck it, I'm out at 3 on Sunday. If you're good, I'm good."
Yeah, well, we were going to record last week, and I ended up deciding late that I was going to order the Stardom pay-per-view. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to order it, watch it overnight, and then stay up and record the podcast. Like I was young again, and I was like, I got to like the last three matches of that show, and I was like, oh God, I'm not going to make it. And I think during the main event, I fell asleep for like 2 minutes and then kept waking up. So I did make it through the whole show, but by the time it was over, I mean, I wasn't even over at that point. I was like, I'm not going to be up. And I guess you were throwing up, and you said something about falling into a river or something.
Okay, so yeah, I woke up last Sunday and I wasn't feeling the best myself. So when you were like, "I'm not going to make it," I was like, "Bet." So my cousin took my aunt out to the lake to fish because that's what they do. Because she's getting older and that's just like a thing they can do together because they enjoy it. They invited mom and I, and they were like, "Oh, also one of my cousins that we don't really ever get to see is going along." And I was like, "Well, I'm done shitting and puking. Let's see where they're going." So we go out there, and mistake number one of this was, even though it was a little bit warm, I took my hoodie off. Why? More on that later. But they have these like fucking rocks, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. I don't have a fishing license, so I can't fish, but I can damn sure do something about those. And it wasn't like the tallest rock fucking, I don't want to call it a formation because it's just they dropped a bunch of rocks next to the lake. But I'm like climbing on those and my ankles aren't killing me and shit. And I'm like, I'm not even like going slowly. I'm just like ripping through these things like I'm 10. And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, buddy." And then my cousin shows up, just like, "Get down from there. You're not 12 anymore." And I was like, "No, I'm good." So as the day progresses, um, one of my little cousins decides he's going to be within striking distance. And the last time I saw this kid, I kept putting him in the iron claw.
As one does.
We're at the fucking we're at like a higher end restaurant in my town. After a funeral, that weird thing you do where it's like, we just
Yeah.
celebrated somebody's existence. Let's go eat. And he's like a little kid, right? And I'm like, "Hey, check this out." And I put him in the claw, and I'm like, "Yeah, Fritz von Erich used this as the finish in the '60s." I said this out loud. And as I'm doing this, I looked up and I saw a girl that I went out with a couple of times. And like we had
Uh-oh.
that like weird eye contact as I have my little cousin in the iron claw, and I was just like, "Hey." And she was like behind a glass partition, so she couldn't hear me anyway. But so that kid was like, he was just like walking up, and he said something. I'm like, "Buddy, didn't I put you in the iron claw once?" And he went, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to do that shit again." And he took off running. Now I'm not the fastest guy in the world, but I can sure shit accelerate pretty quick. I'm not gonna be able to sustain it, but those first like 15, 20 steps, you're fucked. So I take off after him. Now, if I would have been thinking, I would have went the other path, which would have took me through a bunch of mud and stuff. But I run straight after him, and there's like the little tree roots like that are kind of like coming through the ground. I'm not looking at what's like dead ahead under my feet. I'm looking at him because I'm like, "I got you." I'm like 5 steps away from you, and I trip. And as I start to go forward, the one thing I remember is William Regal saying in an interview once, "You need to learn to roll. It's more important than learning how to bump." So like as I trip, I just put my hands down, tuck my head, and I roll. So if I would have fallen like face first, I would have hit and then rolled, and my entire body would have been in the lake. As it stood, because I rolled, I wound up with just my feet. So like my shoes and my socks were fucking just soaked. And everybody's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like sitting there laughing my ass off about it because I can't believe it actually fucking happened. And they're like, "Oh, you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. I just can't believe I fucking went ass over tea kettle." That has that. The last time I tripped while running was like I'm not even kidding. We're talking like 7th grade running the mile. Like I tripped over my own foot, and again, tuck and roll.
I can't remember
But
the last time I like had a good trip.
it was funny though, because like after that, I was like, all right. And I'm just kind of hanging on, talking to my cousin because I don't really ever get to see her. Not that we really particularly get along, but we're reminiscing about all the stuff that used to be here in town and how everything's changing and blah blah blah. And mom keeps going like, we're getting ready to go, and I'm like, no, we've only been out here a couple hours. When we get home, I I start to notice like, oh man, the back of my neck and my forearm's really red. I wonder, and I see my neck in the mirror, and I'm like, oh god damn it, I had a sunburn.
Oh, nice.
And this thing, like, I started putting aloe on it like right away. I was like, fuck this. I took big mistake was I took a hot shower. Don't do that.
Oof.
Like I turned the fucking heat all the way up, and I'm just standing there taking it. I'm just like, oh. And then I put the aloe on it, and I'm like, I'll be okay in a couple of days. Now, for some Mongo lore, the last time I had a really bad sunburn was 4 years ago when I helped my cousin move in with us. And to describe the area of my body, like, do you remember when Rocky got the Samoan tattoo and it was like the pec and then like the front of his like left arm? Okay, basically just mirror that onto my right side. So like my right pec all the way down the front part of my right arm was like dog dick red, like fire hydrant red, like Larry the Lobster on a bender red. And so like my neck was like really like I woke up Monday, and by the way, like an idiot, I wore like a regular T-shirt that kept rubbing it all day Monday.
Oof.
So what I did Tuesday was I took two of my shirts and I just took a pair of scissors and I cut the collar part of my shirt, like basically the you know how like Kakihara had the fucking like the little crop top gimmick. I didn't cut the stomach part out, but like the top out, like the neck was wide open. I did that to two of my shirts, and I also wore my hoodie because lesson learned. Because I could pull my hoodie up around my ears, not over my ears, because that's a violation. And so, like, if I had to help somebody take something out, like, I'm not exposing that to the sun. It started peeling real good yesterday. I always hate when I get a sunburn, like on my neck, though, because I can never be sure if I got everything when it starts peeling. Like when it was on my chest and my forearm, it's just like, oh yeah, there's like these little things that look like waves. I can just kind of like you rub at those and you kind of tear. It sounds like you're ripping like construction paper, and then you're good. Except you shouldn't peel that shit, because like if you peel it too early, that's dangerous. You could actually risk like serious damage to your skin. So I got a bad sunburn. I went ass over tea kettle, but believe me, that kid is gonna pay.
See,
He made it to
I don't
11.
get
That's a good run.
I don't get sunburn because I don't go outside. I feel like if I did, you ever see Chronicles of Riddick?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time. Wait, no, I've seen. Was it Pitch Black? I haven't seen
Yeah,
Chronicles
yeah.
of Riddick.
Well, there's a planet in Chronicles of Riddick called Crematoria, and like the sun comes out and like everything burns, and there's this guy that just walks out into it. Towards like the middle of the movie, and his body just like catches on fire and just like disintegrates. And that would be me if I went out in the sun.
I used to be able to like get a pretty decent tan, and then I don't know, like in my late teen years, if I was outside for too long, like I would go from like white, which yeah, I'm not quite mayonnaise white. I'm probably a shade darker than that. But I would get like a decent little tan, and it's like, okay, cool. If I'm out any longer than that, though, it's like, oh Jesus Christ, that hurts. So I'm
My skin
trying
is
not to
like
have the sun mutate my DNA, huh?
my skin is like pure white, but if like you know when you get like Cheetos dust on your hands, mine is like in those areas it's like all pink. So it's like I'm pure white, and then you've got spots of pink. It's weird. I might need help.
We're gonna talk a little bit about the Punisher. I wish that I remembered enough about this game to give a full review. My I can talk about the gameplay. It's sweet. I love it. I don't remember shit that you actually do in that game after like the first two levels. I bought that the 100 line Last Defense Academy game, and I've been playing the shit out of that. So like in terms of my recent memory banks, that game's occupying a lot of it. That game's great if you like the visual novel stuff. If you're a fan of like Fire Emblem, if you like
Right.
Zero Escape or Danganronpa, like absolutely pick that game up. It is. Some of the characters are a little fucking annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think that's supposed to like be the idea, but I really like the gameplay. It's it's a fun game. I'm on day like 46 of 100, but yeah. So the Punisher came out. I want to say I don't have the release window up. I'm sorry. I'm such a terrible podcast host.
Is it 2005? Because they've got a trailer for the movie in the extras, but it's for the DVD release. So maybe it was
I
late
want to say it was like
2004.
January '05.
Okay.
Yeah, January 18th, '05. So I got this on the Xbox initially,
Yeah, me too.
and the entire appeal of this game to me was ha ha ha. There's a lot of like the torture stuff that you can do because I saw like the screenshots, like some of the more
Yeah.
like out there, like dunking the guy in like the piranhas and shit.
I think I
Um,
might have seen probably reviews on the run and maybe X Play I had seen some gameplay on. And yeah, like if you're a kid to see all like the torture scenes is like, oh, I need to buy it because of that. I don't
and
remember
like
actually playing it much on the Xbox, to be honest.
I think I had it for like a few weeks before I traded it in, which is not an indication of the quality of the game. I just
No.
if a game didn't like get its hooks deep in me in that era, it was like I'm just gonna trade this in to get something else. I loved the idea like you can wield a pistol in one hand and a fucking shotgun in the other, or you can dual wield shotguns.
Yeah, this game is made by Volition, so they're the same
Yep.
developer as Saints Row, and you can really see like the early DNA of Saints Row in this.
And Saints Row originally started as a sequel to this game. That should be
Well,
noted.
well, I was rewatching that video that came out, basically talking about this, and I guess they were developing Punisher 2 the same time as Saints Row. Saints Row, which was originally called Bling Bling, which is quite the title.
That's a
But they were
very
gonna use
2000s name.
yeah. They were gonna use they were gonna have a more like I guess maybe like a more traditional engine for the Punisher 2, have it use the engine from the first game, but they were developing Saints Row and they're like, oh well, we've got this open world, why not use the same thing? So that's what they did. And I guess in the early Saints Row used to have like the execution mode as well. And there was one of the developers talked about like how there was like a highway mission in the Punisher, and they were gonna have like Daredevil as a part of it. And there's like a highway mission in Saints Row, so it seems like that maybe that idea was used for that game. And for whatever reason, the license was lost by THQ, so they didn't end up getting to make the Punisher 2. And it's a shame because it probably would have been like very, very good, judging by Saints Row. But also having two games that are very similar at the same time would have been awkward. But with the Punisher, it would have been set in New York, so um, I guess there would have been enough differences. Also, I have to say, so this game, the Punisher is voiced by Thomas Jane, who
Yep.
played the character in the movie, and it's very funny because this is very much a video game. So, I mean, this is the era where we're still making video games and not movies as games. So there's like nobody like trying to act like they're in a movie. So all the characters are like, "It's the Punisher," and like very over the top. And you've got Thomas Jane speaking in this like very hushed tone and like taking it very seriously. But they also give him some like funny lines here and there, like references to like pop culture or like just lines that people would say in like the early 2000s or the 90s, which is very funny. But it works somehow. It's
Yeah, I was gonna
with him
say it.
being
It does make sense.
yeah, and he's very good. I felt as the Punisher in this and in the movie as well. I like the movie a lot. But
Yeah, that movie
yeah,
rocks.
it's funny too because the big bad in this game is Jigsaw, but Jigsaw is the son of Howard Saint, who is the villain of the movie. So there's a little bit of a tie in there. And I remember when they were talking about the Punisher 2 movie, the rumor was that it was going to be Howard Saint's son as Jigsaw. So maybe they got it from this game, because I think the movie went through like different directors and rewrites and stuff, and then it ended up as Punisher Warzone, which did have Jigsaw on it, which is that movie's pretty crazy too. But the whole thing looks like it's covered in piss. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I didn't know that existed till a few months ago. It was like direct to
Oh
video, yeah.
no, it was in theaters, but it didn't do very well. Um, I
Interesting.
haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I did like it. It's very violent. Like I said, like the whole thing's like got this yellow filter on it where everything's just like piss looking. And Ray Stevenson is the Punisher, and his sidekick dude, I think was it Microchip? I don't know if that's the name he uses in the movie, but it's Newman from Seinfeld, I believe. Remember correctly. And like Jigsaw's the villain, and he's like really fucked up looking. And I remember there was an old lady who's like got her head open and like brain exposed at one point, and he shoots a guy doing parkour with a bazooka. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but that movie was pretty fucking nuts.
So looking at it, this game was written by in part by Garth Ennis, who if you ask a lot of people their favorite Punisher run, it's going to be that one. That run also, if you ever watched the Daredevil series and you liked the scene of him and Punisher having the philosophical discussion on the rooftop, it's from that comic book. If you liked Kevin Nash as the Russian, that whole sequence is from the comic. But in the comic, he's killed differently. Have you ever heard about how he was done
No.
differently in the comic? Punisher basically throws the fat guy on top of the Russian after burning him with pizza, and they basically do the double pin from WrestleFest,
Nice.
and he gets suffocated under the fat guy.
That might be my
Um,
favorite part of the game. Actually, is the fight against the Russian. I think it's so well done with like the limitations because you don't have like a full open world. He like throws you through the wall, and then that basically essentially unlocks a new area to fight in. And I thought it was done very very well.
I
I don't know if you
I
remember
know I
it.
played that boss fight, but dude, my memory is. I've also had like just a really shitty week at work,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
hear you.
it's kind of like yeah, we were talking about that quite a bit before we went on the air. I like the way all of the gunplay feels in this game. The
Mm,
AI doesn't feel super cheap for the most part. I know you were talking to me about the gondola stage. I do remember a little bit of
oh,
that.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, you have to like move across on a gondola, and there's guys sniping you. So you get a sniper. There's a sniper rifle waiting for you in the gondola. And so I would start to use it, and I pressed R2, and it was like I thought it would go into first person, but it didn't. It just sort of went over the shoulder. I was like, well, this isn't ideal. So I tried it once, I lost, I tried it again, I gave up, and I was like, I'm gonna do something else. And then I think like the next day I ended up beating it. And then the next mission you do is against the Russian again, and he's throwing like um barrels that are on fire at you, like he's King Kong or some shit, or Donkey Kong. And for whatever reason, I double clicked I was actually it's the right analog stick. I double clicked it, and it went into first person. And I was like, son of a bitch! Like if I knew the gut during the gondola, I would have beat it a lot faster. But I did get through it anyway.
I I talk a lot on this podcast about like that mid 2000s like golden era of
Hmm.
Marvel games. This game is a big part of that because at no other point would we have gotten a console game for I mean the movie helps, but we would never have gotten a game like this at any other point before or after in the history of like Marvel Entertainment. They were willing to basically like, oh, this character is popular. Oh, there's a movie we can maybe tie it into. Fucking here you go.
Yeah,
Like
this.
this game could not have come out in the 2010s when they did the Netflix Punisher series. They didn't give a fuck about making video games in that era.
I think the only time would be like a few years later when they made Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Maybe we could have got like a Punisher game then. I mean, if they ended up getting the sequel, obviously we would have. Maybe the only other time they would have like greenlight something like this. Um, and it's also interesting too how like I was expecting just like a solo Punisher story, much like the movie, but then Daredevil's thrown into this, and Iron Man's in it at one point, and Black Widow, and Nick Fury, and like all these characters show up, but that I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
That was the thing that happened in a lot of games in that era is they would the guys that didn't have like the exclusive deals with like Activision, they could just pop up in game, and even some of them popped up in Activision games.
Yeah,
Like everybody loves the first Neversoft Spider-Man game because there's like 8 million cameos in that game.
Right. But it's funny too because the way everything's so MCUified these days, like for example, the Avengers game, it's like even like Midnight Suns, it's like everyone's doing an impression of the characters from the movies. So when Black Widow shows up and she's got like she's trying to do a Russian accent, or Iron Man shows up and he doesn't sound anything like Robert Downey Jr., it was sort of like, oh yeah, there was a time before the movies when not every character in a different kind of media sounded exactly like that. So that was kind of interesting. And
That's
you
another
know, we
thing I
had
love about like Ultimate Alliance and X-Men Legends too.
yeah, because they're very much their own thing, right?
Mm,
Yeah. It was interesting too to have like Kingpin in it, and Jigsaw's like I said is the big bad, and you've also got like Bullseye. Um, there's one mission in the game where you're in a coffin, and it's during a funeral scene, and you get up and you just blast away at everyone in the room, which
mm.
just fucking rules. It reminded me very much of Hitman Blood Money. The end of that game when 47's dead and then wakes up and during his own funeral, and you can kill people there too. It's just yeah, this game kind of just rules. Like the executions. I was playing there's a version on Reddit. It's the PS2 Definitive Edition, and this keeps the all the executions and the slaughter mode and everything in color. I guess the regular version changed it to like black and white, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it also gives you like a free mode or a debug camera, so I guess it like pulls it back a little bit. It's got extra costumes that were in the Xbox version, and it's a use of widescreen patch as well. So it ran perfectly. It was really fun to play. I did try to play the PC version, but it's not suited for controllers, so that was difficult. So I had to look for a PS2 version. I think, has anybody done anything special with this, like they have other games? And I was so happy to find it. I thought it was excellent.
I will say this though, the agreement they had with THQ for the Punisher is also why you get Nick Fury as a playable character in Ultimate Alliance and not Punisher. Because
Mm,
apparently, like, there's still some stuff in there for Punisher, but they were like they couldn't get the rights, so you get Nick Fury. I remember at one point seeing a texture mod for that game that gave you Punisher in place of Nick Fury, but it was textures only. Because like
yeah,
all of Nick's stuff is gun based, and like, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
I I think this game looks really good graphically. I've seen people over the years say it looked like shit, and I don't agree. This is the it's not like the like crowning graphical achievement of like the PS2 or the Xbox, but it's not a horrible looking game either.
No, the only thing it that takes you sort of out of it is that at some points in the game, and maybe it only happens like twice, you get very stylized cutscenes that
Mhm.
they don't look like the game. Like the cutscenes at the opening and stuff, they look a little bit better than game footage, but there's not the vast difference. But then these other stylized cutscenes are just like, what is this? It just feels sort of place. But yeah, I don't think it looks bad at all, really.
I wish we got that sequel.
Yeah, like the whole Punisher open world New York and in a Saints Row cell would have been pretty nuts, probably.
Yeah, I liked Saints Row a lot, but if you would have gave me the ability to just play the Punisher in that particular like game engine, Jesus, I would have had the time of my life with that game.
The title that they were working with was Sandbox Punishment, but I'm sure at the end of the day they would have had a proper title for it. Also, it'd have been interesting what they would have done with like other Marvel characters. As they said, they were going to incorporate Daredevil into it and that big highway mission, so that would have been cool. And what other ideas would they have? Because it was obvious by the end of the game that they were going to set it up as Kingpin versus Punisher for the sequel.
Yeah, I Big Willie's never really been given his just due as a video game villain, honestly.
No, no, he's also
Like,
like someone that you start out with, and there's somebody else after him.
yeah, and like I know if the Daredevil game came out, like, because Kingpin's like the one with him, like he would have been the main like big bad, but like it always bugged me that he's like the tutorial boss in Spider-Man 2018, and he's
Yeah.
functionally just a tutorial for like the big brute enemies you encounter throughout the game.
So I wonder if like the you remember like the big Russian guy in Saints Row 2 or 3? I think it was in 3. If that was sort of like the idea how the Kingpin was going to play, because I mean he looks like him too, like he wore suits in that game as well, and maybe that's the idea that they had for Kingpin and Punisher 2 that they sort of carried over into the Saints Row series.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah.
This game fucking rules. I'm sorry I don't have more to say about it. My memory's shot lately.
No, it does. Like the executions are sometimes I would execute people by accident during the interrogations. I was
Oh yeah,
like,
me too.
okay, yeah, you go back and forth, and I'd like just go forward, and it's like he dies, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Um, but yeah, it's a super fun game, and there's like some fun extras like comic covers and flashbacks, and like I said, the trailer from the movies in there, and I was reading about that movie too, and that's a movie that I really enjoyed. I think it was another movie that my friend got early from Blockbuster because he worked there, and he let me borrow it, and like I watched it back and back and back. It's also a movie I associate a lot with WrestleMania 20 because they had
The
Step Up
step
from the
up.
Punisher. Yeah, and also Slow Chemical, Kane's theme was on the Punisher soundtrack as well. So I always think of WrestleMania 20 when I think of that movie.
I don't like to think about WrestleMania 20.
I get you. Understandable.
Wow, holy shit. Facebook memories. 10 years ago today, I got my copy of Final Fire Pro in the mail that I paid a whopping $18 for.
Jeez.
18 bucks complete in box. I I painstakingly went through the guide to fucking like do the unlock all cheat in that game. Oh god. And then like we had to run a lady from church somewhere. I think it was to like the salon or whatever. So I'm just sitting there beating the shit out of people with like Koji Kanemoto while there's like all these old ladies just sitting in the waiting room and they're looking at me because I'm sitting there playing a Game Boy Advance SP in the year 2015.
Did
Oh
you
my
see
god.
did you see that game that's coming out in like a month called Man's Eye from is it Leslie Benz from formerly of Rockstar?
No.
So this was something that was shown at like one of the showcases or whatever a few months ago. It looks like a sci-fi GTA, and yeah, like I said, it's like coming out in like a month, but there's like been no promotion for it at all. And like a few days ago, some gameplay leaked. It was some like driving gameplay and some gunplay, and it's got the weapon wheel from GTA. So I'm kind of interested to see what that's like. Um, Sci-fi and having these robots and shit seems kind of cool. So we'll see. It's piqued my interest. I know everyone's talking about GTA 6 being delayed, but to be honest, I don't really care. Like
Yeah,
it's not.
I sort of feel like I outgrew that series a long time ago.
I'll play it, but it's not like I'm not thinking about GTA like at all. It's like I didn't enjoy 5 as much as I probably enjoyed 4, and like I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a big deal these days. Like really what's going to be the big difference? Like and when it comes out, are you going to have to deal with all these shitheads talking about woke and all this bullshit, as they do? So, just doesn't seem like anything to really look forward to. It's like when it comes out and I'll play it, but I'm not going to like be counting down the days or anything.
So, remember the report we talked about a few weeks ago where like GTA getting delayed could fuck some of these companies over?
Oh, yeah,
Are
that's
are
right.
we going to see that happen now? Are people going to try to rush their shit out? Like
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if schedules change. I mean, they have to really. So, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Also, just a light wrestling game note real quick. Retro Randy put out, and we're not going to talk about this in detail because it is paywalled on Patreon. It's $5, and we'll say enough to let you know. Like, absolutely, give him the $5 for this. We did get the first like super duper early preview release of the ECW. I think it's Born to Be Wired is the working title for it now.
Yeah.
ROM hack. And brother, this thing fucking rules. It's unfinished. A lot of guys don't have move sets, but like the amount of custom animations in for like taunts and moves and just the way the Hammerstein ballroom looks, the menu music being familiar to anybody who played a ton of those Acclaim games. You pointed out like the font is used in some of the menus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is this is the ECW game I really wanted when I was like 9,
Yeah.
and I I can't wait to see more progress made on this because it's got basically everybody you'd want. And like some of the guys don't have 4 attires yet, but the fact that he's working on No Mercy Plus, Backlash, and this kind of concurrently, and it seems like maybe Backlash got a little bit of like the back burner treatment until the other stuff is a little bit more complete. But the fact that he's basically like, I'm going to do the sequel to No Mercy we never got, and I'm going to do the ECW game that we never got, like, give him the fucking $5.
Yeah, it's sort of blown away by it, to be honest. Seeing a bunch of animations, not just new animations, but animations that replace some of the older moves that are in the game, redone,
Mm.
and they look spectacular. I was just like, I can't fucking believe this. I was like, I messaged you and I was like, what are the limitations now? Like, in regards to like the Aki engine, I'm sure that there's still probably like limited as to like the amount of characters and stuff like that. Um, to be honest, it did make me think like, what if someone could rip all this stuff and put it in like a new engine? Like, what if someone could take it and put in like Unreal or like something else? You know, I like obviously they can't do it legally, but if someone was to do it Patreon like him and be like, I'm doing this, and you know, you get updates through the Patreon, and then they release the final product for free, and you've got like an Aki game with like 800 wrestlers or some shit, that would be like a dream come true. Um, but what he's doing is just like I said, I couldn't believe it was just. It's just like exactly like you said. Like it feels like an ECW game that was released at that time on the Aki engine. It's like how, you know?
Yeah, and like I said it to you, like this is already the best ECW game ever by like 47 miles.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it was just so cool. And I remember Bix and I became like Twitter buddies because he made a post about Paul Heyman claiming that THQ had the rights to ECW, and he and I both looked through like torches and observers trying to piece together exactly how Heyman got out of that lie.
yeah.
And it was interesting. It's always interesting when you get into Paul Heyman being a fucking lying piece of shit. Um, but like I always go back to that. Like whenever I see somebody starting an ECW ROM hack, like yeah, what like let's get something that's like what if we actually got. And granted, some of the roster wouldn't have been in if ECW actually got a game. At this point, I'm not going to complain about the rosters of these things ending up being like a best of ECW because that
Mm,
really. Oh no, you're giving me people from the entire run of this promotion so I can do dream matches. Oh no.
right,
Like
yeah.
I don't need to be that fucking anal about it. I'm just happy that there's an ECW game that I can play that. And listen, I don't even hate the Acclaim games, but if you're going to give me the ECW shit inside of the confines of an Aki game, motherfucker, you will hear no complaints.
I
Not
just
one.
can't help but like imagine some of the other stuff like he could possibly do. Like if you could imagine like, you know, a Japanese game, like an FMW game, you've got like outdoor Kawasaki Stadium and stuff like that, or like a New Japan game, and you've got you know, people try to do virtual pro wrestling too, excuse me, and they do a good job of like adding like the New Japan ring and stuff. But imagine if you had like, you know, proper accurate arenas and shit like that, and the crazy stuff that I feel like he could probably do with it. And this isn't like discounting anyone else's work because fuck, everyone puts in like crazy amounts of work on these mods. But yeah, I it just makes me think of like the possibilities of what else could be done, or even like an I know it's like the Legends mod, but if you could do like an 80s game with like still have
Mm.
the accurate graphics and like going through the animations and making like older 80s based animations would be a cool idea. Or like even like pre WCW versus the World, like 94, 93. and stuff like that. Yeah, I was blown away by it, and it was funny too because I haven't played any of the Aki games for a little while, and like it just sort of renewed my interest in like trying out new things and see what else is out there. But also, around the same time, we did have
I
new
was
stuff
about
from
to segue,
WC.
like, that's not the only Aki game shit we got to
Yeah,
talk about, buddy.
which is like, and that I guess that was posted like 3 months ago too, right?
We we really suck at this whole staying on top of things.
Well, I guess nobody really noticed it because I saw it on Twitter. I think it was like Next Gen Gaming or Last Gen Gaming, whatever it is. Posted, and I was like, "What? Where the fuck did this come from?" It's like this new, and I looked at it. It was like 3 months. I was like, "Oh shit!"
So the big video was a look at several character models. It
Hmm.
opens with Scott Steiner and a very early version of the EA Sports big logo. Now,
Right.
this is relevant because the first two WCW games by EA were just published by EA Games, Electronic Arts.
Hmm.
The idea that WCW could have been the first wrestling game ever under the EA Sports banner is crazy to me.
Yeah. I didn't even see that
It
when I first
also
looked at it, but then someone else mentioned it.
it also suggests that maybe we were going to get a little bit more of an arcadey experience like we got with
Hmm.
Def Jam. And I was talking with somebody else about this, and they were like, "Well, I would have preferred if it was more like No Mercy than Def Jam." And my counterpoint to any like, well, I would have liked this is shut the fuck up. It would have been an Aki Engine 2001 WCW game. I don't care
What?
what they. I don't care if they made it play like fucking Fight for New York for all. They can play like Ultimate fucking Muscle for all I give a shit.
What other characters were shown there that we didn't see before? Major Guns was one, right?
Yeah, Medeja, who I
Right.
don't think
Yeah.
was ever mentioned. We'd never seen Mike Awesome. Booker
Oh, that's
T,
right.
we'd seen the wireframe of him talking, but we'd never seen the model. And he's in like tights, which is really weird. Um, we saw Jeff Jarrett, and he great. We saw like an actual textured model for him. And then I'm pretty sure the dude in the dress shirt is supposed to be the wall. One of my friends thought it might be a Street Gear Jeff Jarrett, but the face doesn't match.
Hmm.
These models all look great. They all also do the thing where it's like actual pictures of the person as the character textures. So like the Acclaim thing, the TNA Impact thing. These models all look fucking great.
Yeah,
Um,
and there was a second video released too of like Buff Bagwell and Vampiro, and they're like talking back and forth, and it's not their voices. I just like it just seemed like a reference to see how their faces would move and stuff when they're actually talking. And then at the end, they're showing us like marionettes on strings.
there's
And
two
you
other
mentioned,
videos too.
oh, did I miss something or am I just forgetting? Let me check.
It's like Goldberg's model showing like the movement of like the shoulder and the arm muscles.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no. So you said those videos look very much like EA, or sorry, AKI models. Um, and I agree. The person that posted these videos is named Evan Hanley on uh YouTube, and I did see him on Twitter say that this was going to be an EA game and not a AKI game. And then I was like, "What?" And then I stopped thinking about it because if I think about it too much, my brain will go crazy. And we've heard different stories about what happened at that time and what didn't happen and what was what. So I don't want to get into it too much, but I think it probably. I mean, you would think it would have had to been the AKI game that would have evolved into Def Jam because
If you especially if you look at like the way that like Sanders Keel fucking said it. He worked with
yeah,
Aki and was like, yeah, once No Mercy was done, they went to work with EA on WCW. And it's like,
yeah.
but we got to talk about this because for the longest time, the narrative had been the WCW 2000 that we saw in the magazine was Mayhem 2. And then it was like, no, this is clearly Backstage Assault. One of the developers said that like PSM just ran with the higher resolution screenshots
Mm.
without asking.
Was
And
Dave Lang right?
I am not going to say that this person who actually worked on the game was wrong. However, that shit was the cover story of PSM.
Right.
There is an article with quotes from the developers. I am fairly certain. I do not. If PSM made that up, there would be an article that you could find somewhere on the internet debunking that. Like EA would have absolutely put out a fucking statement, or PSM would have put out a statement. There would be some sort of record that PSM fucked that up. So while I don't want to
Yeah.
be like, oh, come on, man, you're wrong, I have to look at like actual, like the shit that I can actually see demonstrably and be like, maybe he's misremembering. Maybe this
Dave
is like a
Lang's
weird thing where he can't actually talk about like a canceled project. I don't know.
Dave Lang's a funny guy. He might be misremembering. He was on Giant Bomb for years and a bunch of funny stuff with him. And that information from him comes from a video Matt McMuscles did on Backstage Assault. But
I've been meaning to watch that for a minute.
like I said before, though, it's like, it was like 20 plus years ago now, and there's no like real documented history of this game. It's so like people misremembering things or misquoting or whatever the case. It's just like, to me, it's like that's all there is to it. Like, until we get up some actual gameplay or whatever, or very detailed interviews, like just anything that comes out, I'm just like, when it comes to like interviews and stuff like that from that time, I'm just like, could be, couldn't be, whatever. I don't know. I need more details.
So I pulled up the Bagwell Vampiro video.
Right.
And one thing I think is interesting is like Bagwell's default stance in this video is very much the Mayhem Backstage Assault one, like standing straight up with the hands out in front of him.
Right.
But the proportions in everything of these character models looks a little bit more in line. Like the hands aren't quite as big and cartoony as Def Jam, but like the facial proportions in everything else, this looks a lot more like Def Jam than the other games that EA had put out. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to dispute Sanders Keel, but Sanders Keel worked directly with them. So they would have fucking told him like, okay, we're done. You want us to develop for the GameCube and not the PS2. We're going to go work with EA. Well, EA had a fucking wrestling license at that time, so it's pretty easy. Like, draw the line, right? Just like a straight line.
Yeah. Also,
But
those facial tests, and you put them together with like the wireframe animations that came out, also seem to be tests from what would be like the pre-match taunts from Def Jam Vendetta.
yeah,
Like,
and
obviously, EA would have helped out because, I mean, it was their game as well. They were publishing it. They would have applied some support to it.
and also like apparently, you know how like in Backstage Assault the guys are like posing before the match.
Right.
They had that idea even then because I've heard that there's
Hmm.
like cut voice lines somewhere. So like that, and honestly, that felt even in '03 that felt more like an EA thing than an Aki thing because if you play Ultimate Muscle, they're not talking shit before like you get like the intros like a Japanese wrestling match, but
Yeah.
they didn't like that felt specifically like an EA thing. So like of course EA would have helped. I wouldn't have been shocked if it would have wound up being a thing like with 2K and Ukes at the start where like Visual Concepts took some of the responsibility on the graphical end and then they let Ukes kind of sort of do their thing. But also EA clearly were just like, hey, Aki, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Because they
I
didn't
mean,
change the gameplay.
yeah. Yeah. They being definitely had a helping hand. I mean, there's probably some stuff you could look at the credits and be like, you would say like EA like graphical blah 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 whatever, and you could probably
Oh,
reference that or like what they did in the game.
another thing I just thought about. You can win matches in Backstage Assault via KOs. How do you usually win matches in Def Jam?
Yeah. Same.
With a finisher. Yeah.
Yeah. So these
So
are definitely things that they were like, hey, this is what we want to incorporate into this game, and Aki's probably like, sure, no problem.
yeah, so like you can kind of see the EA handprints in Backstage Assault that would later find their way into Def Jam that don't necessarily feel like Aki flourishes. it's one of those games I get sad whenever I think about it because I loved WCW so much, and by the end, the product actually was pretty fucking all right again.
Mhm. Yep.
Like I've said it on the show. You give me January to March '01, and I'd much rather watch the WCW TV than the WWF TV because WWF TV goes off a fucking cliff going into Mania 17. Like, we all love that show, right? Everybody loves the fucking My Way video. Everybody loves Mania 17. I challenge you to watch the fucking build of that show and not just stare in astonishment at how well that show ended up coming off because Jesus Christ, the build fucking sucked.
Yeah, like the whole stuff is Deborah as a manager and that bullshit, and like all the other matches too. Like the Ivory China shit was horrible, and I don't remember
Fucking
Rumble.
Undertaker gets the match with Triple H because Kane has like Stephanie gorilla pressed on like a balcony
Oh
backstage.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Kane should have fucking chucked her.
but it would have been interesting to see like the final product. Like, what would the story mode have been like compared to Def Jam? Would Major Guns and like Medeja would they have been the women that you would have got like pictures to unlock of and shit like that, or would they have felt like they would
Man,
have needed? What's that?
I said, man, don't get me started.
Would they have had like? Would they have think they would have needed to create a wrestler considering the previous games? Because obviously Jam didn't have that. Uh, yeah, it's a lot of stuff to think about. Who
But
would
Def Jam
D-Mob
has
have
it for the
been?
sequel.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just mean like for the first game, would they've felt the need to include it for WCW considering the previous games that they made? Um,
Mm.
who would D-Mob have been in the WCW world?
Assuming we even got a story mode like that, it might have just been Quest for the Best again.
Yeah, or it could have been like Scott Steiner's like in his like purple pimp hat and stuff. He could have been a good
Mm.
D-Mob. God, I hope there's some. I From what he said, like I asked him, I was like, I hope there's some stuff out, more stuff out there, and said he's trying to get a hold of more stuff. Also, he and that Twitter account that I mentioned earlier, we're talking about like the TNA Impact 2 stuff, but that's been around for a long time, like the models of Super Eric and Jim Cornette and like the UI concepts and stuff like that. Um, Maybe there'll become more come out of that. I don't know.
I would love to see because apparently, going by Samoa Joe's tweets, they had a functional six sides of steel match and double team moves. I'd love to see that shit.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Mm.
God, all the stuff that we could have seen. I was going through the link for that those acclaim discs, and there was like a logo on one of them for something called, I think it was like World Extreme Wrestling. And it's not like the Samoan promotion or like the German promotion or anything like that. It was just like this randomly custom made logo, and I don't know what it's for. I don't know if like they were gonna have something like that in the ECW game, or if it was like a placeholder before they got the license or something. I have no
Oh,
idea.
indie wrestler. What became Legends of Wrestling?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, could it be for that? It's an interesting idea.
Because I remember hearing like a long time ago, the idea was going to be instead of traveling the fucking territories, you'd go through all the like various indies.
Hmm. I posted the link to the logo, or I uploaded the logo on Blue Sky and Twitter as well. I was disappointed going through those files that the Uganda folder was empty. There was no reference pictures for him, but I guess he was supposed to be him.
I mean that if you wanted to look at Francine and Don Marie, those fucking acclaim discs are like the jackpot.
Yeah, well, the Francine one, they don't leave much to the imagination, that's for sure. And I've gone
No,
for all
not
of
at
this.
all. Like
I was creating renders for 2K for some of the mods I have, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot here.
yeah, it was like it's so weird to me that like yeah, just put barely like anything on and let us photograph you from the back too. Like I get it because textures and whatever, but like
Yeah.
The idea that they just kept the images.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And then like you look at the Anarchy Rules stuff and like the only new texture or like reference shot for Carino is his face. You know, maybe
Yeah.
you take a fucking picture of his gear so he's not like blonde Carino in the singlet.
Mm.
And we've talked about this before, but there's like you can way back the old like dev diary for Showdown, and it is a fascinating look into how completely over their heads the All Star Baseball development team was with that game.
I remember that guy used to post on like Wrestling Classics or like Kayfabe Memories or something like that. One of the people, one of the developers on it, and he used to talk about like going to the WWE events and recording audio and shit like that. And he was talking about the Road Warriors and stuff. And that's what really put in people's mind, like maybe they finally figured it out. And then the game came out, and some people were like, "Yeah, it's really good." And I was just like, "The fuck? What did you? No."
It's somehow and like I understood the streamlining the gameplay or whatever, but like you got to remember that was a team that was making a baseball game. They barely got any of the original team. Like they sent like a handful of devs over to kind of help them understand what the fuck the proprietary like code was.
Mm,
But it was largely a team of people that if they were wrestling fans hadn't been wrestling fans since these guys were like contemporary wrestlers. And it's like those Legends of Wrestling games are not good, but they are an absolutely fascinating exercise in how you have like the easiest fucking like 60-mile-an-hour fucking over the plate obvious home run and you still
yeah.
swing and fucking miss.
Yeah, especially with Showdown when you've got like all those licensed arenas, which I still go back today, and I'm just like I
The
can't believe it. Like, how did
Spectrum,
they?
Skydome, Tokyo Dome,
Yeah,
Silverdome, MSG, Kobo, fucking Mid
and
South Coliseum, Texas fucking Stadium.
they look real good too. You know, like,
Yeah,
especially for the time, like they're really good. And you pop it in and you see that, and it's like, holy shit, like they may have done something here. And then you actually play the game, and it's just like, oh fuck.
the Omni, Greensboro Coliseum, LA Sports Arena.
I did like that they had stages that referenced like WrestleMania and shit, but they had like the Showdown logo and sort of like a WrestleMania font. It was kind of a cheeky but fun thing to do.
You have was it the Tokyo Dome that was like the WrestleMania 17 stage?
I think so. Seven,
It's either
yeah, I
that or
think it
the
was
Silver
17.
Dome.
Yeah,
Wembley fucking stadiums in the game.
yeah.
Like everything about that game rules until you have to play a fucking match.
Yeah, it's a very, very sad experience.
They got fucking Quiet Riot of all bands to re-record "Bang Your Head." Why? I don't know.
Yeah. And Scott Steiner's got like an instrumental version as his theme song. You've got like Jimmy Hart working on it, and some of his WCW tracks are in there and shit like that. It's just, ugh.
The new version of like the Warrior theme, I really thought was cool.
Yeah.
Like, god damn it.
We did a whole
I
episode on
still,
that. If anyone wants to hear how upset we were.
oh yeah, you know what? Looking back, isn't that the first time I got really like grumpy about Ultra Pro 2? Wasn't that the fucking AI art thing?
I don't know, it's possible. I just remember getting really grumpy about Showdown.
No, because I remember like you put like I'm mad at Legends of Wrestling, Mongo's mad at Ultra Pro or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. If you want to hear like an all timer, just me losing my fucking shit on this podcast, that's like a real in our fictional Hall of Fame of me losing my shit on this podcast, which doesn't exist, but maybe someday will. That's like that's up there. That is fucking up there.
Yeah, the AEW's UPW and the AEW Fight Forever, there was some good rants for that too.
Yeah, like oh, I saw somebody recently suggesting um like well maybe Tony Khan can bankroll a new Fire Pro game, and I responded to them like yeah, I'm all about that, just keep fucking AEW games away from it. I mean AEW games doesn't really exist anymore, but like fucking nobody in AEW should be allowed to tell Spike Chunsoft anything. Just let them make a fucking Fire Pro game. Give them the fucking $45 million you gave Ukes, and let Matsumoto just go nuts. That's all I ask.
God, can you imagine the tweets from the WWE fans being like, "Oh, this looks like shit," blah 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 blah. Oh
But
God.
here's the thing. It's not going to be a 2D game anymore because in my head canon, Matsumoto gets that 45 million and Spike Chunsoft fucking fronts a little bit, and we get 3D models. And we get like a little bit more of a concrete, like easy to understand, even for the Fed zombies. This is how the grappling system works. And maybe some cinematic camera angles for finishers that you use. Spice it up a little bit.
It would be cool, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's never going to
Unfortunately.
happen. No, I talked to one of the people I know in AEW, and they were like, I haven't heard a fucking peep about a new video game in like months.
I don't think they really care at this point. I mean, we'll see what happens, and like you were told previously, it could take like 2 years for someone to get the
I'll
license
say
or whatever.
this.
Hmm.
It's not that they don't care. They won't admit this publicly, but there is a lot of embarrassment with how that game turned out within AEW.
Hmm.
Like people have noted, like Kenny Omega distanced himself from that shit. The closer you get to release, and even after release, he fucking knew. Like around the time the game was finishing up and it was wrapped, and he did like the stream talking about like the gameplay, and he kind of confirmed the whole ESRB thing.
Right.
But he really did not do shit about like or shit with promoting that game other than that when the game came out, and it's because he fucking knew. There are still people in AEW games that are like, well, I don't understand what went wrong, and they put it all on Ukes because that's the fashionable thing to do. If you work with Ukes and you didn't get the exact thing you wanted out of the game, it's their fault. No, you had them prioritize money for bullshit when you needed a full feature set. And I had this confirmed to me. The AEW side of things is why Brian Williams left, because he saw what the fuck they were putting out, and he was like, I can't. I promised people they would get the game they wanted, and we're not going to deliver it.
All right.
And yes, they did go over budget. Yes, Tony Khan did give them a little bit more money to finish the game. They asked for money a third time or a second time. It'd be the third infusion of cash, but they did ask for money again because they were like, seriously, no, we can't ship this game like this. And everybody basically agreed, get it as playable as you can. We have to get this out. And I still think if you just like in the ring, Fight Forever is a very, very good game. It's just I think about playing that game now, and I'm just like, what I've played every match you can in that game. What the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah, very much the same. Like even when I was like downloading mods, it's like they added extra little bit, but like there's so many moves missing that it's not even worth it.
And I don't know that it's ever going to be worth it to try to add new moves, if it would even be possible to add new moves.
I think people were talking about it at some point, but I don't think anyone's ever actually done it.
Well, yeah, I don't. What? How would you even input? Like, what would you take them from specifically?
I don't know. Could you take moves from the WWE games and put them in there? Since I mean, some of the moves are already from the WWE games. I have no idea. I don't know how it would
That
work.
would be like the thing I didn't want though. Like, if you could take like Wrestle Kingdom animations, like okay,
Right.
but
Yeah, I have no
like
idea.
that game played a really big part also in things cooling off for AEW. People don't want to admit that in AEW either. But there were a lot of fans that were really excited for that game, and that game might have actually sold a little bit better if I'm just gesturing vaguely. Like, not showing anything from the game until 4 weeks out, doing that insane embargo where, like, you can show Owen Hart, but you can't show Owen Hart wrestling any of these guys we haven't already officially unveiled. And then they got mad at IGN for just showing whoever the fuck they wanted because they're IGN. And it's like, we're 4 weeks out from the game. Why are we still trying to have to guess, like, if the fucking Lucha Brothers are in the game?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I forget. I mean, for that for one thing, but like the whole development and the lack of marketing was just obviously just like a huge mess. I mean, uh what could have been?
Yeah. Also, it should be noted, um, one of the people I talked to at THQ Nordic basically confirmed to me like they had zero fucking expectations. They were like, "Yeah, THQ's associated with a wrestling game. We'll pick this up, and hopefully it doesn't bomb." I guess was like the expectation, but they didn't expect it was going to sell well. I've had that confirmed to me, and I've heard from, because there's like 3 people I've talked to in AEW games. One of them was like, "You'll find this funny." They thought that game might actually do comparable sales to WWE, and I was like, "There's no way." And they were like, "I was like, what, 2K20?" And they were like, "No, they like." One of the ideas was, if we make a good game, we could do the same number that they do. And it's like, no. The one time anybody's ever beaten them in terms of video game sales was WCW at the fucking peak in 97 and 98. And even then, Warzone on PlayStation still smokes like all of the WCW games. I'm just talking like single console fucking sales. Because Warzone and Attitude on N64 did not outsell fucking Revenge and World Tour. Warzone on
Yeah, I mean,
PlayStation outdoes Nitro and Thunder, but like the numbers I've seen for Thunder are like insane. Like that game, that game should not have sold as well as it did.
I think they would probably try to make a comparison that the WCW games brought in a lot of people who weren't wrestling fans, but they also had a lot of
And
wrestling
that was
fans
the
that didn't.
idea.
But they also had a lot of wrestling fans that introduced them to those games to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So without that fan base to begin with, you know, the numbers aren't going to be there. So they weren't there for Fight Forever, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, and we've talked about this. Like the idea was for that game to basically be World Tour, like the entry point for new fans. And I did a podcast with somebody else years ago. Like the idea is, if you get it, if the game is good, people will play it. Maybe non-conventional wrestling game streamers, and you can have people like look at this fucking thing and they'll want to interact with the television product. And the game had the opposite effect. Those
Yeah.
mini, I've harped on it for years now. Those mini games were a fucking stupid idea. And the fact that there was, and I know this, I know this for a fact, there was pushback from Ukes on all of those mini games. They did not fucking see the point, and AEW told them it's our money, basically.
I mean, when the company that made a Eugene mini game of him walking down the ramp tells you this is a bad idea, maybe you should listen.
Yeah, and by the way, it should be noted that's an exclusive to a handheld version. So like
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
idea with that was like, well, it's a handheld system. It's going to be geared more towards kids anyway. They might find this
Yeah.
funny.
Hmm.
But when it's like the fucking baseball mini game, who the, like, you play that one time and it's like, okay, this is adorable. Who the fuck's playing that multiple times?
Apparently nobody. I mean, you can't. It's just it was so badly thought out. Like, I mean, again, it comes back to the idea that the reason that there was a lot of new fans through the WCW games was because the gameplay was so good, and it was a wrestling game. I mean, everyone that is there at the end of the day for wrestling. They weren't there for fucking baseball or mini carts or whatever the shit was in that. I can't even remember anymore.
It
That's not
also
how you
should
make
be
new
noted,
fans.
wrestling was insanely popular at the time too. So like people had the peripheral knowledge of like, this is something that's cool, and then they play the game and it's like, oh, I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
The SmackDown games were the same way. There are a lot of people, and I know several of them personally, that became wrestling fans through SmackDown, specifically like the early PS2 ones, like Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain.
Mm.
And I don't think you're making a new fan off of any of these modern games. Not a fucking one of them.
No, I think maybe just from people who are trying to grow a new audience on like social media or whatever, would maybe start playing 2K because of WWE's popularity. But I don't think you're getting like a huge boost in a fan base from the current games because I think they're just too. I don't want to say complex. I don't think that's the right terminology, but like
They're not
at this
fun.
point, that's part of it. You kind of have to be invested in them already to be interested, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of like my issue with wrestling as a whole right now. And I say this after thoroughly enjoying the hour of Collision I saw last night. But I was watching, I think it was Great American Bash 96 recently. And one of the things that I think is badly missing from both companies in terms of the commentary is you don't have motherfuckers calling wrestling in a way that makes sense to both longtime fans and like new viewers. Not that I'm one of those idiots that thinks like casual viewers somebody channel surfing because that doesn't happen in 2025. But if you happen upon professional wrestling in the year 2025, and let's say you're one of the few people that doesn't have a general concept of it. Like if you turned on wrestling last night, would you have a fucking clue what the rules were?
Oh, absolutely not.
Or
I
why
mean,
somebody hooks the leg, or why somebody, not that people work limbs anymore necessarily, but like you never hear, like when Zack Sabre Jr. is around, like that's his whole fucking deal, right? The
right.
commentators never fucking mention why he's doing it. They don't explain on a show where everybody's dropping themselves on their fucking heads and doing all these like crazy flips. They're not explaining why what Zack Sabre Jr. is doing is different and effective.
Hmm.
And it drives me. I was watching WrestleMania 6 the last couple of days because they put it on the Vault YouTube page. And I can say a lot of negative things about the WWE and certainly about the two guys in the main event of that show. But like, that's still a comfort. Like, that's comfort television for me, no matter what happens. I'm sorry. But like fucking Ventura and Gorilla. And part of this is obviously I don't the WWE historically attracts like the kind of person that wouldn't understand wrestling unless you like spoon fed it to them. So
Hmm.
like that's kind of what they're doing. And all around that you have Jesse and Gorilla kind of bantering, but they're pointing out the strategy or lack thereof of certain wrestlers in like that's not a part of wrestling commentary anymore, especially on like fucking Dynamite when it's Taz and Excalibur just sitting there trying to pop each other. Fucking get them out of there, please. I don't even dislike either of those guys, but you can't have them together. I don't need smarmy tongue-in-cheek bullshit commentary. And it also does the talents a disservice when they're doing all of the stuff that they're doing and they're working their asses off to have two guys at the fucking commentary table trying to pop one another.
Yeah.
It's
I
dumb. And like ECW, they weren't doing that either. Joey Styles could call a fucking wrestling match, granted, heavily produced by Paul Heyman, but Joey Styles could call a fucking wrestling match.
I found that the few times I've seen Collision, Tony's commentary is like a breath of fresh air because he's a new voice, even though he's an old voice. It's like I'm not hearing the same. I know he commentates obviously on Dynamite, but you don't hear him as much obviously as Excalibur. And just hearing him on the weekend, him and Nigel, it just feels a lot more refreshing. I feel.
Agreed. Sometimes Tony's not really with it with some of the stuff he says that
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
make any
yeah,
sense, but like
definitely.
he still has enough of a knowledge of how to call a wrestling match. Like, okay, he gets move names wrong. Sometimes he'll hang on like a move name mid sentence because he realizes it's not the right name. Tony Schiavone's still Tony Schiavone, and some nights he will still turn on that '90s Tony Schiavone voice, and he sounds exactly the fucking same. And I'll take it because we can't
Yeah,
get Jr. sounding like old school Jr. anymore. But Tony still sounds like Tony.
I miss the WWE
And
commentators having gimmicks like the heel announcer. Like everyone just feels like the same person, you know.
well, that was the thing with Corey Graves. Like he so badly wanted to be like a Ventura or Heenan, he just really sucked.
And Barrett's like that too, and sometimes he's all right, but like I don't know. I could do with someone that's a little more flashier, like over the top at the commentary table,
I think
personality
Pat
wise.
McAfee's really funny sometimes when he's like
I hate
obviously
that guy.
fucking like Listen, there's times where he's like just obviously fucking plastered on commentary, and I find him funny. The other
Cody,
99% of the time, he's just like really overbearing. And I
yeah,
understand why it works for the younger audience. I do. But now I see people saying Michael Cole is a better commentator if you look at his career in totality than Jim Ross. And it's like, buddy, Michael Cole could not call professional wrestling without Paul Heyman in his fucking ear. And he was nowhere near as good under that set of parameters as Joey Styles was. Eat shit. Eat
what
fucking
is this?
shit.
What is this thing too with like, and this has been going on since Lola and the Attitude Era, where they have a heel commentator, but then they're confronted by a heel wrestler, and the heel commentator becomes a babyface. I don't get that. I mean, they've done it with Lola. They're doing it right now with McAfee, Nigel, and FTR. Like, what's wrong with the heel commentators being like confronted by the babyfaces? Why is it always other heels now?
I liked the thing with Nigel because it's like I'll fuck with Tony, but don't you dare put your hands on him. He's not a
Right.
wrestler. Like I like the idea of like the heel commentator having like a fucking moral compass. Like, yeah, okay, I sit here and I go back and forth with this guy, but like, and also typically the heel commentators are like former wrestlers. So it's like I'm not gonna let you fucking this guy's not a wrestler. Don't fucking do it. I like that. I didn't know Pat McAfee was supposed to be a heel. I just thought he was like supposed to be like an obnoxious babyface commentator.
Sometimes he has like heelish lines, and he'll praise the heels, but God, I don't know. I just, like I said, I find him like very fucking annoying, and I wish he would just go away.
Also, Collision last night, Boardwalk Hall, the venue where they taped or not taped, the venue where WrestleMania 4 and 5 happened. And I don't think this is the same room though, actually, now that
No,
I
I don't
look
think
at
so.
it.
I didn't
Because I
see.
don't see the shit in the ceiling, right? Like
No,
that's like the obvious.
I just saw clips of it, and I saw when Tony Storm left the ring and she opened the door and she was right out on the balcony. I thought that was a cool visual.
Yeah, I don't think this is where they did Mania 4. Because
No, I don't
like
think so.
that's a very distinctive looking venue. Like they have run that before. If you recall, like early
Yeah,
2022, Keith Lee's debut was in that building.
yeah,
Um,
and obviously WWE used to run that. It was like in all the video games. It was in like
it's
Shut
in
Your
Here
Mouth.
Comes the Pain.
Yeah, comes Pain. That's right. Yeah,
And then when they did 30 Years of Mania, they used that arena for like a shit ton of. I think like the Extreme Rules arena in 14
they really
is
like that,
like,
apparently.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to call it Trump Plaza. I don't care that that's what it was at Mania 4 and 5. It's Boardwalk Hall now. But I thought the venue looked really nice on TV last night. It's funny. I was telling you today I had shit cell phone reception
Hmm.
in the town that I work in. Last night I had like crystal clear video quality on my phone the whole way home watching Josh Alexander and Brody King. That was those I said it on Blue Sky. Those guys put in a shift. That was a fucking tremendous piece of business. And then FTR and Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. I thought that match was excellent. I told you this also before we started recording. I kind of expected them to do the hour long kind of thing like they did with Jay White and Juice Robinson. And I'm not complaining that they didn't, but like when I saw like, oh, they've only got like the last 20 some minutes, a little bit of an overrun, but like that match was so freaking good. And that really, and I don't try to project this onto a lot of current stuff because I hate when people do it and it's not an apt comparison because a lot of people are just like, I want my version of this thing. But I was around for this, so I can fucking say it. That match felt like a modern version of like a 2 out of 3 falls match you would have seen on like a Saturday night in like the early 90s. Or like is Stars and Stripes versus Pretty Wonderful. They have a 2 out of 3 on Saturday night in like '94 for some reason. Like that's what that match felt like. It was so fucking good. I'm so glad that FTR are heels again. Uh, I just goddamn what a match.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. To be honest, I'm kind of cold on FTR. I'm happy that the
I
heels
was ice
again.
cold on them until they turned heel. Like that
Well,
first thing they did where they killed Edge and then FTR Glock gets on the stretcher with the neck brace. He's like, "Oh, I don't need this." He does, and he fucking like throws the neck brace. I was like,
yeah,
"Oh no, these these guys, they're back. These guys rule again."
it's
I
cool
I
that the
didn't
heels.
like.
it's cool that Stokely's back on TV because he's been gone for quite a
Shout outs
while.
to Big Stoke.
It's just like I don't know. With FTO, it's like I've seen so many of their matches. It's like, what else can you do at this point? You know what I mean? It's just
I mean,
like
I could watch them work Roddy and Kyle about 500 more times. The matches they've had recently have been.
I think too. That's like another tag team that I'm not invested in because I don't know.
It
It
doesn't
just
help
feels
that
like
they're fucking tied to Adam Cole.
yeah. It's just like, and I also don't know where their place is. It's like they show up on Dynamite maybe sometimes, but not a lot. And it's just like I I don't know. I don't know how to explain it really. It's just like there doesn't seem to be a lot of focus on them except for when it's on Collision, and I don't see Collision all the time. So you know, I don't know. It just feels like all over the place to me, which AEW a lot of the time actually.
I really like Collision. I have the Max deal, so I can watch them both. I uh I don't really ever care about seeing Claudio Castagnoli again, but I did kind of go like, oh, cool, when they announced him versus Samoa Joe for Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm fairly certain those guys have a match in like IWA Mid South in like 2004. They might have a match in ROH in '05, maybe '06. I know for sure they interacted during the ROH versus CZW stuff. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
And Moxley and Joe in the cage. Obviously, Moxley's not losing. I have more faith in Samoa Joe than I do most people. He is, in fact, Samoa Joe. I I don't want any like stupid CZW plunder. Like, just do a fucking bloody cage match, please.
Well,
Just do an old school. Moxley loves running the razor. Let him run the fucking razor. But I don't need nail boards or fucking thumbtacks or scissors or goddamn run-ins. At this point, I'd have zero problem with fucking Moxley winning that one fair and square. Just fucking stop the '03 Triple H shit. Let him win flat. Who gives a fuck?
we'll see.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed the AEW TV I've watched recently. I thought the Hangman Page Kyle Fletcher match on Wednesday was fantastic. Actually, um, whatever Hangman lost in the past like 2 years, he's found that shit pretty recently. Everything I've seen with him recently has been, again, pretty goddamn good. I was really down on Kyle Fletcher, and then in the T1 last year, that motherfucker was like, "Actually, I think I'm going to be a good wrestler now," and he's fantastic. When Ospreay wins the belt, build to the rematch with those two sometime next year, and give Kyle Fletcher the fucking belt. That
Yeah,
guy is
completely.
great. He is absolutely fucking money. Um, and Josh Alexander, through the matches I've seen him in so far in AEW, and I was a fan of him prior to even when he signed with TNA. He's basically already proven to be worth whatever the fuck it is they're paying him.
Mm-hmm.
That guy works his ass off. He's great, and I hope Brody King sticks around too, because they've gotten a lot out of him in terms of match quality. But I think you could probably get a sustained push. Like, for me, you don't need Lance Archer when you have Brody King to be like the big reliable like shit kicker. I also just think he's a better wrestler than Lance Archer at this point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's a lot to like about AEW right now. The Death Rider stuff, I just whatever. It's going to be there until July.
I
There's
don't
nothing
like
we can do about
they've signed Mina, and I guess she's in that ROH Women's Pure Title tournament, and it's just like, really?
it.
What?
God damn it, just do women's tag titles. Who cares? They
I
don't
know
need three women's titles in ROH.
it's crazy. Like the women's tag titles was the thing that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm glad she's getting paid. I like Mina for the obvious reasons, but also I enjoy watching her wrestle too.
Yeah. Also, the All Star Grand Queendom show was actually a really fantastic show.
That doesn't shock me.
The only match I didn't like was it Yumiko Hata against Rina. So it was like the old vet who's not going to sell anything for the youngster, right? Like Tenryu-esque. Like she's doing all these moves and she's just looking at her with a stern face and they're not really reacting. And they said there was a 40-year age difference between the two of them. And it sucks because Rina is like she's really good, but she's only like 19 or whatever. But she was a part of she was in the finals of the Cinderella tournament, so you'd think that she'd be getting some good stuff. But like Hoda just like no sell, no sold, and then eventually started selling some stuff, and then she just beat off like a Cobra Clutch or something, and I was like, that was kind of lame. But I mean, the rest of the show was really good. Yeah, I don't like full on LED stages, but like they had a really good setup. They used like the Noah 4K cameras for the entrances, which was really cool. Yeah, so the production was like excellent. They did over 7,000, which was the best attendance for a women's Japanese wrestling show since like the mid 90s or something. I think it was set up for 10,000, but still a really good attendance. And then and then the next day, Mayu Utani said she was leaving, and Tekla was technically fired, and Maika's injured, and Mayu just showed up in Marigold, which was the shock of no one. And so we'll see where they go from here.
I guess Tekla's expected to land. If I could speak English, that'd be great in AEW.
Yeah, it seems that way. It was funny because the for a while now they've been doing an angle with her and President Toru Okada, and she was like beating up staff and stuff and getting suspended, and then she starts like beating him up and like at the one of the US shows, Clark Connors, who was her boyfriend, speared Okada. And so this big match was like she wanted to wrestle Okada, and this match with Kurora, God, I always feel like I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Was if Tekla lost, she would have to join Cosmic Angels. So she lost the match, and she refused to join. And Okada was like, "Well, you're fired." So it was funny though because the fans booed when he said that. So it was strange because she always gets booed anyway. But it's like, oh, they really didn't want her to leave. And then she's like in the corner, and he goes over and he whispers something in her ear, and she starts smiling. And then as she's walking up the ramp, it looks like she was tearing up. So I don't know what he said to her. But yeah, it seems very much like she's gonna end up in AEW, and I feel like everyone's expected that for a while. It wasn't really any secret that she was leaving. That rumor was going around too. Mayu, I don't think anyone expected her to leave the next day, but it was felt like it was a surprise she didn't join Marigold when it first started. So now that she was no longer IWGP champion, it was like, well, she's going to be gone soon anyway. And that was a really good match of Shuri. The only thing they messed up was the Poison Rana, which was a shame because that's been Mayu's like death move. So if they had done that and Shuri had kicked out, if it would have been a really cool moment. But that was a really fun match. And then Shuri's going to wrestle Sari. She's coming into Stardom, and that's going to be an excellent match. The main event with Saya Kamatani and Tom Nakano. I wouldn't say it was as good as the Korakuen Hall match, but it was better than the Ryogoku match. It was very like obviously very dramatic and stuff. And after the match, they were like crying in the ring, and like they go on the stage and like Tom points to like the lights, and then all the lights go off, and that's how the show ends. It was very like very very dramatic. But it was good, and I guess she's just retired now. Um, Apparently she was one of the three people that told Rossi Ogawa to start a new promotion. The other two being Julia and Mayu and Iwatani. So it's pretty funny if she said that just to get him out of it. Like, fuck off, and then I'll have my big Stardom storyline if that was her thing. That would have been pretty funny. Um, but yeah,
Did you
hopefully
know
she
Ryzen was running the Tokyo Dome today? Also,
who was running the Tokyo Dome? Ryzen? Oh yeah,
Ryzen.
yeah.
I didn't. So I woke up, and of all the things you don't want to see at like 6:12 in the morning, they had Mark Coleman in the diaper like they do for Takada because he won the first Grand Prix 25 years ago. And I was
Right.
like, why in the fuck is Mark Coleman in a goddamn And I read and of course, like his shit reads like somebody's drunk dad voice to texting, but also it's Mark Coleman, so there's like some like hardcore fucking CT in there too. And I say that with all the love and respect in the world for Mark Coleman as a fighter. Um, And I was like, oh man, do they still air stuff on Triller? And apparently they don't.
I knew because I saw him with Sakuraba on Sakuraba's Instagram, but like the attendance looked good. Like I'm kind of surprised because it doesn't seem like anyone really talks about it anymore.
Well, also not being on Triller plays a huge part in that because it's not you have to go to like Ryzen's actual like fucking website to buy the shows
Right.
now. Um, I was I was very surprised when I saw that they ran the dome, and then I saw a couple pictures, and I was like, yeah, they don't have like a full setup here, but that doesn't look like an embarrassing crowd.
No. Did they have any like goofball matches on it?
I'm trying to find the results. I know that Ryan Bader apparently announced he signed with Ryzen, so there's your if Ryzen gets hot again, there's your fucking Fedor, I guess. I mean, he beat Fedor too, like decrepit old man Fedor, but Fedor's Fedor, I guess. Um, I think the replay of the show is like $10. I might grab it this week. I I Japanese MMA is my favorite. I like the ring. I like the pomp and circumstance. I like it feeling like professional wrestling, and then it's obviously it's real
Yeah.
when the fight actually starts. And I was a big time like buy all the Ryzen I pay per views when they were on Fight TV guy. I'm still mad. They did you remember when they had a Tenshin Nasukawa fight Floyd in like the exhibition fight, and it was like,
Mm.
oh well, it can't be aired due to like an agreement with Mayweather Promotions. They fucking added the version with Floyd later on and didn't give that version to people that bought the fucking show.
Hmm.
And like, I'm not paying you $20 to get one extra fight that I should have fucking gotten access to. Like, go fuck yourselves. But yeah, it's cool that they're running the dome again. Shout outs to Japanese MMA because it seemed for a bit before Ryzen started, and even honestly, various points afterward, that like Japanese MMA was dead. And I hate the idea of there not being a major Japanese promotion. It should not just be the UFC. Fuck the UFC.
Indeed.
Uh, Goddamn, we made it this far. We have not said a word about action figures. There's some news we can get to.
Yeah.
Mitch did an hour-long live where we saw, he'd previously done a teaser of Steve Mongo McMichael, and for obvious reasons, I got pretty jacked when I saw that. The majors, who by the way, fuck them, were like, oh, I think this is in bad taste because he just recently passed away. Up yours, up yours. The Mongo figure basically has the same body as the Rougeos. Uh, so cool body. It doesn't fit the Rougeos. It does fit him. The head sculpts we saw in the live stream, they look really good. We saw the sculpt for like the Rougeos. They look really good. We saw actual plastic samples of the God ones again, this time painted. I think I said this to you. I know I said it's wrestling figure news. Mitch has to dial back like whatever material he's using on these. Either like dial back the gloss or find a different material because they are so shiny and they look really fucking cheap. That's like
Yeah.
my only
He,
complaint about those God ones. They look good, just
he
cheap.
did. Yeah, he did say they were getting repainted because he had them. Wanted them to look more. The overalls to look more denim like, and so we showed those later on, like digital samples. He did move the legs around and stuff, and like they were very, very bendable. It was cool that they didn't fall apart at least when he bent them around like that. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been hilarious, honestly.
Well, he did try to stand them up and they kept falling down, and then he just held them at the end.
I will say, the head sculpts on them look all right. I think out of the ones we've seen, the likenesses on those two in particular are the worst. Not that they look bad, but like the Gangrel ones are dead on, the Mongo ones are dead on, the Ahmed ones are dead on, the Rougeos look exactly like the Rougeos.
I think two
Um,
out of all of them, the Godwins are just boring figures. I mean, they're just two hog farmers, you know?
yeah, out of all of the guys he's shown, those are like the ones I give the least amount of a shit about.
Yeah.
Like, you might be able to convince me to grab like a Hasbro style figure of those guys just for the bit, but like I have never in my life, even in the classic Superstars days when I would have bought a figure basically anybody, the words "I really wish we could get the Godwins" never left my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I bought them when I was
Um,
a kid. I got the Jax, the 2-pack, tag team 2-pack, and but anytime after that, I was just like, I don't really care.
oh, I didn't have the 2 packs, so I got the Shotgun Saturday Night ones where they had the Confederate flag shirts because that was the only Godwins we ever found in stores.
Yeah, I had the Henry with the yellow shirt, and then Phineas with the white shirt.
Yeah, I had the repaints, and it's funny to look back at like you could just release shit like that at retail and nobody would bat an eye.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way things are going in this country, you're probably going to see a lot of
You'll
it
probably
back
get
on
them
fucking store
again.
shelves
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, sadly. He showed a retro Mongo clothesline body. Looks like maybe some reuse from the Davy Boy Smith.
It's
It
like the
looks
same
good.
head to me. The same head as the 6-inch one.
I don't. It's a similar expression, but I don't think it's the same. I could see
Mm,
like they used like the same like digital sculpt and then gave it like the added on neck, like the retros have.
yeah.
It's
He did
pretty
say
close, if not.
the Rick Martel model uh Blue Trunks retro will not have removable sunglasses. Um
I don't mind that.
yeah, I don't really care. I really want that figure though because I mean it's very cool and I love Rick Martel.
Yeah, Rick Martel's that motherfucker. Um, I forgot he was doing ECW Rhino, and like immediately I was like, "How are you not showing off renders of a Regium Rhino, motherfucker?"
Would you do Rhino with knee pads or without?
I would. I don't know why he doesn't have knee pads on the
I think
retro. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think no knee pads is more like a current Rhino look, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for
I think
sure. And the artwork on the card looks more like current Rhino than 2000 Rhino.
yeah, and I would say the head too looks more like an older Rhino instead of like the should be a face than he looked in ECW.
Yeah, I think the Pirate Pierre that he's doing looks really cool. I
Yeah,
think
me too.
it's like a sicko mode like decision to try to make the flag exactly like the Jim Duggan flag from the
Yeah,
Hasbro's.
that was really cool.
Yeah, I love that shit. I'm trying to think of what else he showed that might be of like actual interest. Oh,
He
he
showed
did.
like
I
the
will say this
Mhm.
real quick. On note of the Regium figures, he did say he's not putting the pre-orders up because of the current tariff situation, which I
Right.
understand, I respect. I don't like the idea of any of these companies because we're going to talk about figure collections before I lose my motherfucking mind about Powertown. I don't want any of these companies getting into this right now and then putting the pre-order up and then just dying a death, or even worse, putting it up and charging an exorbitant amount of money for the figures, and then like all of a sudden the tariff situation isn't as completely fucked up as it is now, but you just paid $75 for that Henry Godwin, and there's not going to be like a refund on it.
Yeah, but obviously it's a shitty situation for anyone that's like dealing with warehouses in China right now. He
Yeah,
also did
for sure.
show like the digital of Ahmed, which has been worked on by they have a new sculptor, and I guess there's made some changes. I don't know what the changes were exactly. Like I didn't compare it to the old one, but I guess there were some
So
changes made.
when they talk about the changes, the guy who does some stuff for Powertown and also does the figure collections thing that we're going to talk about, he apparently was the original sculptor on those, which is why they looked so Mattel Elite like.
Oh, okay.
And at some point, I don't know what happened, but he's sculpting for figure collections now. And Mitch has a new sculptor whose name is Rocco, and he certainly looks like somebody who would be named Rocco. I don't mean
He's
that in like a
he's not a wallaby.
means he he came on and they showed off the renders. I Mitch said like everybody says it's the same torso. It's not the same torso. Brother, I'll put that fucking Gangrel render right next to the Ahmed render. The only thing you're going to be able to convince me is different is like the abdomen. The
Yeah.
top half of the torso looks exactly the fucking same.
He did talk about possibly doing another Ahmed figure, and I assume that would be the Nation of Domination. It was up to me, you'd have Ahmed in his biker shorts, in his little
I
boots,
was going to
but
say that feels like what he would actually do.
I suggested that when he first announced Ahmed like years ago. I was like, you got to do this. It's an iconic look. I mean,
There's
come on.
there's certainly like some stuff to be excited about with grapplers and gimmicks, I think.
I really
Um
wish I would have bought like that poster for my old apartment and just have like my girlfriend walk in one day and just have to explain the story of Ahmed Johnson to her.
We got to get Sunny Bone to unearth the Fun with Ahmed videos that have been taken down. The ones that have been
Yes.
taken, I think the original 3 are still there.
Yeah.
Figure collections last weekend were at Squared Circle Expo, where they showed off a lot of new stuff. There were Hardy Boys retro figures, both like the like early Hardys, and then like obviously like the cargo pants, t-shirts, Hardys. And those look so cool. I think I figured out like one of the things with retro figures that I think might be my new like black hole of just spending money. Because they're doing Scotty 2 Hottie and they're doing Saturn and they're doing those Hardys, and they're all clearly based on like 2000, 2001, which is
Mhm.
around the time that I got the internet and got into buying Hasbros off of eBay to try to fill the gaps in my collection. And while I was playing with my Hasbros at that age, alongside my Titantron figures, never like against each other, but I had like 2 separate figure feds. I always thought like it would be really cool if I could have Hardy Boys that my Demolition could fight, and now like there's Hardy Boys in the same scale as my Demolition. I guess vice versa, but like the hat factor was what I meant specifically. We saw like an actual production sample of the BCW Evil Crush. That thing looks awesome. But the big highlight was the figure collection's premiere line, which is going to be 6-inch figures, elite scale, and they showed off the Patriot. This thing looks awesome. There is a render by the sculptor. There's going to be 2 heads, 2 different masks. Each head's going to be painted. It's the same mold, but painted differently. The attire is basically WWF Patriot. This thing looks awesome. It looks a lot like a Mattel Elite. It doesn't have the diaphragm joint. It's got the ab crunch. So that's a big way it's different than every other toy line that's not Mattel at this point. Um, I saw some extra pictures of it. I talked a little bit with the person that painted the figure. There's names being discussed for that line that obviously have retros. I'm really excited at the possibility of, because they showed a retro Saturn, and I was like, well, if you're going to be doing this,
Yeah.
you might I will make Perry Saturn. And I mean, there's like 3 different Saturns you could do that, like Eliminator Saturn would appeal to one group of Saturn fans, WCW Saturn, and there's a couple of different Saturns within the WCW run, and then obviously WWF. Like I would love to see that.
Yeah. Also with some of the other names that they've got signed, I mean, like Bagwell, you could do Bagwell from his team with Scorpio, you could do Bagwell with his team with the Patriot, you could do Bagwell and WO. We've got all sorts of options there. I would love like a WCW All Japan Patriot. I've talked about before, but like the idea of having like these All Japan figures like Hansen and Brody and others just feels like so crazy that to have like a 6-inch Patriot to go around with, even if it's not the same line, it's just like a really neat thing. It's to me, it's like also like
Yeah,
putting like Muta and Terry Funk together, the JTEX Corporation, stuff like that. It's just really neat. Like who would have ever thought, right? So to have Patriot like that would be very, very cool. And God, we were talking about like Scott Norton before, and like, holy shit, someone needs to sign him already. I mean, like a 6-inch
yeah.
Norton. Well, you could have his NWO look, you could have his old like red or blue flash gear from New Japan. That would rule.
There's a few different Scott Nortons I would buy.
Yeah.
Um, So let's talk about the Powertown thing, because last Sunday they put out a statement, the Powertown Wrestling State of the Union. And Kyle Peterson, for those inclined, has like a 30-minute video dissecting the statement and talking about all the ways they're full of shit. I will read you the statement and I will annotate it where appropriate. At Powertown Wrestling, our fans and collectors are our top priority. Let's stop there. Absolutely no, the fuck they aren't. You've just lied to me, and it's the first fucking sentence of this. If we were the priority, we would have been seeing in progress shots. Remember when they did that for Ultra Series 1? Like we saw the test shots of Brody and Hanson and all those guys?
Yep.
We would have had some fucking transparency and some updates. So no, we're not your top. We're your top priority when you want to take our fucking money. Do you have anything?
No, I was just gonna let you go through it. I was just gonna say that I read that whole thing, and like literally when I was done reading it, the first thing I said was bullshit.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too. First and foremost, we hear you and we sincerely appreciate your feedback. No, you don't. Magnum TA doesn't appreciate our feedback. He's told us all to kiss his ass. We apologize for the delays in delivering your Powertown orders. We also recognize and regret the shortcomings of our customer service and communication. Do you really? We understand the frustration this has caused. Do you really? And we want you to know we are committed to doing better. Really? All Powertown products will soon be ready for shipment pending a resolution of international tariff matters allowing normal shipping schedules from China to resume. Hold on a minute there, player. Steve Rosenthal told me in a DM on Instagram in fucking January that the Remcos were at the port and they were going to be land bridged to their whatever the fuck that means. It means a train, I guess. But they were going to be land bridged to their fucking distributor, and they would being sent out. That was 3.5 months ago, almost 4 months ago. So no, the tariffs have nothing to do with this. If it was just the tariffs holding this shit up, we would have already seen the TNA figures and the Ultras. This is bullshit. Based on the current outlook, we anticipate a summer 2025 delivery of your orders, hopefully sooner. Okay, so it was supposed to be Q3 last year for the Remcos. And then it was supposed to be January. And now it's summer 2025. Fuck you, I want my money back. Moving forward, we are making it our mission to vastly improve delivery times and customer service response. We will work diligently to regain your trust and deliver the experience you deserve. No, you're not going to regain anybody's trust with shit like this. You had one fucking chance to make this right after you bet. Like people forgave them with Series 1 because that was a legitimate issue with the legs breaking.
Yes.
Like everybody was willing to cut them a break there. You don't get to go on the fucking podcast with Justin Kendall from Wrestling Figure News and shit on Zombie Sailor for how long he takes. And we're looking at what, 16, 17, maybe 18 months again for pre-orders? No.
Yeah.
If you want to regain people's trust, if you want to do right by the customers, send everybody that bought these fucking figures an email and offer them a refund. I know that they did the free figure thing, so like, what, we gave you product, you can't complain. Fuck you. You gave people dead stock. Some of whom got the Brody and Hanson and the Vern Gagne and the leg snap, which you didn't disclose until after they started shipping, which is fucking scummy behavior. Despite recent changes, the state of Powertown Wrestling is stronger than ever. Oh, really, motherfucker?
Oh.
I beg to differ. Over the past year, we've been hard at work on a transformative new chapter. Powertown will now operate under a newly formed parent company, Boomerang Entertainment, a venture established by 3 toy industry veteran executives and 2 wrestling legends. Let's break this down. Steve Rosenthal, Chief Executive Officer / President, leads business strategy, policy development, goal setting, and strategic planning. A Remco executive and the original creator of the professional wrestling action figure genre. That's a lie. Poppy beat you to the fucking punch. Bullmark beat you to the punch. You might have sold the first professional wrestling figures in the U.S., but you didn't sell the first in general, motherfucker. Terry Allen, Magnum TA, Chief Operating Officer, oversees and manages daily operations, ensuring organizational efficiency and execution of strategic initiatives. It's funny, there's nothing about hydroplaning here. Wow. Jeff Jones, I had something way worse in mind that I wanted to say. Like, if we would have recorded this last week when this came out, I had like 4 things I was going to say that were all a lot worse than that. Jeff Jones, Senior Vice President, Product Development. By the way, not Judge Jeff Jones. He works for AEW. Directs all aspects of product development from concept to market launch. Former Hasbro executive recognized for his success with major brands including Furby and Star Wars, which I'm sure will serve him so well when it comes to the likes of, I don't know, Kevin Von Erich. William Robbins, President Production, manages the full production process and ensures rigorous quality control standards. Served as a senior executive at Toys R Us. And last and certainly least, Greg Gagne, Vice President, Talent Relations. Develops strategies that facilitate talent acquisition and retention. Well, they're definitely having a lot of issues with both of those. A renowned AWA wrestling star, give me a fucking break. Bringing deep industry expertise and connections, give me a fucking break. This powerful alliance sets the stage for an exciting future. In the coming months, we will unveil new projects that include iconic new pro wrestling signings, exciting, never-before-offered iconic figures, collaborations with a more geographically diverse set of manufacturers to ensure reliable, high-quality, and price-sensitive production in an evolving global trade environment. The Powertown team is energized and focused on what lies ahead. We are grateful for your support and patience, and we promise the best is yet to come. Now, at the bottom of this, we see Kedazzle, which we had talked about recently. They signed like some Cartoon Network show, right? And they showed some stuff off at Comic-Con, and then we never heard about it again. And then there's another logo for something called LHI, Legends, Heroes, Icons. I don't know what the fuck that means. This amounts to a whole lot of absolutely motherfucking nothing. Yeah, it's and I listened to the Major Pod. Somebody stooged me the link because I'm not in the Patreon anymore. Brian Myers is a spineless sack of shit. Like just defending Powertown and saying like, well, it's only been a year. And to the point, Matt Cardona was like, only a year. Come on now. Yeah. Cardona went at them and then at the end fucking let his foot off the gas and like, oh, they're great guys. I promise you guys are going to get your figures and they're going to be great. Which, yeah, we've seen like the problem with Powertown is not the quality of the figures. That's never been the issue. It's everything else. And Myers was defending him and like, oh, I've seen the samples of the TNA figures. Why haven't we seen them?
Yeah, good for you. What about everyone else?
Not seen them? Where the fuck are the samples of like Ultra Series 2? They had Remco's in the fucking box at Toy Fair. Why the fuck haven't they shipped yet?
Good question.
They walked, Brian Myers talked about it on the podcast. They walked a set of, I think it was the Rock and Rolls or either Magnum and Tully, one of those two, over to Brian Myers and showed them off to him at Toy Fair, which means they have these in hand. Magnum TA fucking has them in hand. He's shown them off. And like, well, I had these delivered via air. Okay, so like, can y'all just handle that from now on? Listen, I'll pay a little bit more in shipping if you just have everything fucking like cargo flighted over here. If that cuts 6 fucking months off of me fucking waiting for my shit because I can't get a refund now. I asked a firm and they were like, you have to handle it with the retailer, and I was like, the retailer doesn't answer emails, so how the fuck do you want me to do that? It's been such a fucking shit show, and I can say this conclusively. Like, I know I said like, well, it depends on what Remco Series 2 looks like. No, I'm done. I'm out. I don't give a fuck. They could do the Four Horsemen. They could do the Von Erich family. They could do Brody and Hanson, and I will say those look cool. They're not getting my money.
If anything, you could just buy them off like eBay or whatever if you really wanted something.
Yeah, but like they only ever utilize their social media when they want to ask for money. They ghost and ghost and ghost until they absolutely have to say something. And whenever they have to actually say something, it's more fucking empty promises. These are not people that deserve your money. And Kyle Peterson keeps saying, well, I was hoping these would be the new classic superstars line. Heels and Faces Pinnacle collection is right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Grapplers and Gimmicks Regium is right there. Fucking FC Toys Premier collection is right there. If you want somebody that's going to do the fucking like classic wrestlers, and also not for nothing, Find me one figure Powertown has ever shown that looks anywhere near as good as any of the fucking like Heels and Faces Pinnacle figures.
I mean, we talked
The
about it
best
before, but
Powertown.
one of the problems with the Power Towns was just the blank expressions on their face.
Yeah. And also, like, they don't stand up very well after a while, too. That's a huge problem.
Well, some of those wrestlers didn't stand up very well after a little while too.
Yeah, but,
Yeah,
like, I didn't see Hanson and Brody making a dash for the bar, so I don't know why they're having
I
such a hard time standing.
I'm very glad I got out of Brody and Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah,
And then
I don't
I
blame
didn't,
you.
yeah, I didn't order anything after that. So not Brody, I mean Hansen. Jeez.
I've just I've dialed back a lot of my expected spending on wrestling figures this year. I did because I saw that like I had the ability to do it. I did grab the Ted and Steamboat and Heart Foundation Coliseum collections. So you'll get to hear me bitch about how bad the Hearts are and how much I love the Ted and Steamboat figures. But like I don't know, man. My wrestling figure collecting is in such a weird spot right now because we saw the stuff from WrestleMania. And by the way, I'd like to correct something I said last time. They did show a Hulk Hogan figure at WrestleMania weekend. It was the President Hogan Monday Night War figure. But it's
Oh
very
yeah.
strange to me that was the only one that they showed.
Hmm.
We got two Ultimate Warriors, which in the pantheon of who's the worst person, it's actually Hogan. Warrior's not a good guy by any stretch. I'd rather get more Warrior figures than Hogan anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but like I see those Warriors and I'm like, oh yeah, I want the Coliseum collection with him and Honky Tonk Man because that's like that war. I love the LJN Warrior. I had it at one point, and like the throw blanket getting made in figure form, like that's like how would you ever implement that in like any sort of collection? But that's such a cool thing, and
Yeah,
that merch
really,
shirt.
really neat.
And you know, like Honky looks great. I still think the other head looks like Roseanne Barr with sideburns, but like that's fucking hilarious to me. And like, so that looks good. And like, I'm genuinely thinking about buying that fucking Target box set literally just to get that Warrior and Bruno. I don't give a shit about the Cena and Roman.
No.
But like, in you know, Ultimate Orton and Umaga and Eddie, and like that's such a small group of things compared to and Steiner. So even still, that's such a tiny group of shit compared to like. I feel like last year Mania weekend, I had like a whole list of things I was like, "Fuck yeah!" about,
Yeah,
and I'm just kind of like,
you never know when things are gonna pop up though, because remember we've got like the Ringside Collectibles line as well, and
mm,
they went up for order straight away. So we'll see what they have planned next. I guess the back order Warriors are now expected for June when originally it was May.
yeah, you know what? That's going to be an interesting line to follow because tariff situation.
Yeah, I'm scared when they get here. Like, how much more is it going to cost me through customs and all that shit? I'm worried now.
Yeah, and I'm confident that like there's going to be a resolution on that stuff. It's not going to be anywhere close to what we want it to be as consumers. It's we're going to get fucked in the end either way.
Hmm.
I hate the idea. And obviously everybody knows I work in retail and I see like how terrified everybody at the store level is, everybody I work with, how terrified they are of like all the projections for like the holiday season and shit. The ports are fucking empty. Like, where's the stock going to come from if we're not doing business with China? Like, why does this have to happen? Who does this serve? What fucking sense does this make?
Uh, don't ask me. I don't understand the thought process at all.
Yeah, I just man. There's a line from the song "A Country Boy Can Survive" that really sums up how I feel about a lot of elected officials. And I'm not going to even hint at what it is, but if you take a quick cursory glance of those lyrics, there's this
I
one line in that song that would
I think I
fucking
get
make
where you're
any sense
going.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it feels so weird that like that Mattel line for a long time, it's felt like whenever they dig into that bag of like 80s and early 90s stuff, I get really excited and like again, I'm hyped about Warrior and Honky Tonk Man, but I feel like if they would have shown that a year ago, I would have talked about it for like 8 minutes on the podcast.
Yeah,
And
and
also,
I think
like, the last year is also kind of worn on all of us with WWE and the various Vince McMahon related lawsuits and their obvious friendship with the totalitarian government that we have or administration in the US. So I don't know.
yeah. I think for me too, it's also like the availability of things because like when they announced the Monday
That's a
Night
big part
War
of it too.
and ECW figures, I was like, oh shit, that's cool, Sandman and all this stuff, and it's like they're never gonna appear here. They just aren't. And if I buy something off eBay from the US, it's gonna cost me quite a pretty penny. So you have to rely on Amazon or Walmart, and when things go on Walmart.ca, they instantly sell out. I was lucky enough to get Muta. But like other things, they've had other stuff that go up there and you check again and it's just gone and they don't come back. And they don't appear in store either. So it's almost like why bother being excited for something that you're not gonna get anyway?
I get it. I don't know. I feel really weird watching old wrestling, like WWF stuff specifically. But also,
Eh,
like, most of those guys are dead.
I don't know. I don't feel weird about watching it, but like I mean I'm sighing like I'm Bix or Chris Elner right now. Um they sigh a lot on this show. Uh
They do.
I don't know. It's just like I current WWE is that when I just couldn't give a single shit. Like I don't care about that product in the least. Like I said, I watch the PLEs because I've got Netflix. I mean, why not? But when it's Raw or SmackDown or NXT, I'm just like, I do not want to watch this.
I think Mania pretty much. I got roped into watching Night 2 with my friend. And honestly, I think that pretty much finished me off.
The women's triple threat was really good, and then you had the main event, which was really shit.
It was really funny.
It was like there was one point there where they were just doing moves, and then it was like AA, and then Crossroads, and then AA, and then Crossroads, and then AA, and then Crossroads, and like low blow, belt shot, win, and like Travis Scott making a random appearance and doing nothing basically. I was like, oh, all right. Like Rock didn't care, and like the interview he had was really funny, and like it was, I don't know, it's shit. Cena's whole heel turn has been shit actually. Like the angle itself was really good, but like his promos afterwards have just been like really generic and boring, I feel.
Really lame try hard shit like everything else he's ever done.
Yeah, and the whole thing with him just having like a generic prawns with like his name on like a black background. I was just like, dude, like, do I really want to watch this when you're not? Do I want to watch a heel who's not trying? You know what I mean? It's like you're like trying to be boring. It's like I don't get it. Like if you were going to turn heel, you should be excited by it and change everything up, make everything feel fresh. Much like Hogan. But instead, it's like, look at this generic
Cena
text.
doesn't have that dog in him. We've heard people for fucking years like talk about how great John Cena is and like actually he really gets wrestling. No, this run proves it. This is what he thinks a fucking heel is. You come
I
out
think
and you're mean to the fans and you don't change shit.
I think at one point he would have done it properly because remember he had ordered gear to for a heel turn and he had a new theme song set up and everything. And now it's like he's at the end of his career. It's like I don't care anymore.
And I said this like it made perfect sense to turn him heel because that's the one thing everybody wanted, and it's his retirement run.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus Christ, this was not the way to do it.
Also, like when you're in the last year of your career, and the past few years you've been putting over people like Austin Theory and shit, I'll be like, I probably wouldn't care either, to be honest.
I don't know that he fucking put Austin Theory over. He took all of his shit and made him look like a
Well, I mean,
fucking loser.
at least like, giving him the win at the end of the day, I would have just been I wouldn't have done that.
I don't think it's that Cena's not trying. I think he's trying very, very fucking hard.
You just think that
That's the issue.
maybe, yeah.
He's trying really fucking hard, and all of his ideas suck. Remember,
Yeah, it does.
he was instrumental in that fucking Firefly Funhouse match. A lot of those were his ideas too. And I'm not saying if he turned heel in 2012 it would have been any better, but I have a hard time conceiving of 2012 heel John Cena being any worse than this.
Yeah.
Especially if he did have a new like look and a new like theme song. That's like, why does he still have the fucking theme song?
I don't know.
You know what? At this point, if you were going to keep the rap theme, just give him basic thugonomics again. They want him to be they want him to be cheered anyway. They booked that whole thing with Cody so that you'd think Cody was fucking lame. Give him basic thugonomics and have him wear the Mark Price jersey. Just fucking go all the fucking way with it.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't like it.
Yeah, like there have been like matches and stuff over the last year, like the Punk Drew Hell in a Cell match, Punk Rollins cage match. I thought was very good. That I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy I took the time to fucking watch that. And then like the rest of it's like I watched Survivor Series in a call with my friends, and when the show was over, we were all like, that was one of the worst shows I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to be up at fucking 5 o'clock the next morning to go to work.
Hey, you always have alternatives like AAA. Did you see that clip of Alberto and Negro Casas from yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Oh, he like throws Casas into the corner into a table, and it doesn't break at all. And then he just sort of like throws the table on top of him, and then he puts him on the table, which is now broken, basically, and does like a shitty splash off the top, and wins the match. And like after the match, he starts like shaking his head. I don't know why Alberto's even there still.
Casas, I hate to hear that he's involved in this.
Yeah, but why is Alberto even on the TV? Like, they should have got rid of him like the second they announced they had purchased the company.
Wasn't that TV tape prior to the buyout, though?
I thought that show yesterday was live.
Oh fuck, I don't know. I just assumed it was a TV taping.
It had like an intro with Rey Mysterio on it.
I don't know. I listen, man. I loved AAA like 15 years ago. I thought they were really fun to watch, even in like 2019. But that whole like, oh, we're gonna do traditional lucha libre. That's not what AAA's ever been, ever. No.
Yeah, like I said, we're gonna do traditional lucha libre and bring back D-Generation Max or some shit like that.
Like I would much rather just if I was gonna watch like one of the big like the big two for like lucha, I would rather just fucking watch CMLL. And that's kind of how I felt about it for a long time. At this point was like I would much rather put in the time to watch an Arena Mexico show or like a Coliseo show than anything like most promotions are doing, honestly.
Yeah.
And did we talk about the Dean announcement last time?
Oh no, we didn't.
I don't think we did. So Dean Rasmussen, I've heard it pronounced both ways, passed away, and they did a tribute show to him WrestleMania weekend last year. And for my money, it was one of the best shows of the year. Like it was just a weird love letter to like that era of wrestling where people were discovering all this different bullshit via tape trading, and obviously the Death Valley Driver video review newsletter.
Yeah.
And Phil Schneider had Tony Khan on the Way of the Blade podcast recently, where they announced that they're doing 2 more shows. One is the night before Double or Nothing, and one is happening at the ECW Arena sometime during AEW's residency there because they're doing several shows at the ECW arena, which I think is cool. And Tony does not know ball if Sandman doesn't show up at least once. And honestly, I would just go down the list of people from ECW that can still go, and I would just book them. Fly Tajirian, fuck it.
Yeah.
But it was announced recently that they're doing a 10-man Cybernetico at the show the night before Double or Nothing. It should also be noted that as of right now, I think the plan is for the Ring of Honor YouTube to have both shows live for free.
That's cool.
I love the idea of AEW being involved. Apparently, there will be talent from CMLL involved in the Cybernetico at the show in Arizona. Phil Schneider mentioned that Dean really liked the 97 CMLL Cybernetico match. So that's obviously this is being booked for that reason. I can't wait to see the 10 names announced. I can't wait to watch both of those shows. Hopefully, as the first show did, they get a physical release.
They should use his writing and drawings for like the nameplates.
That would be neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the DVD cover, or not the DVD, the Blu-ray cover that Action Wrestling did for the first show because it's made to look like the old DVD VR website.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks freaking cool. And Mad Dog Connolly versus Damoose in the dog collar match. I feel like that was everybody's favorite thing on that show. Obviously, there were some other neat matches, like Slim J wrestled Adam Priest, and that was the first time I think I'd ever seen Adam Priest. And that dude fucking rules. that guy needs to be signed, preferably in AEW, preferably getting a nice little push. So hopefully he shows up on these shows. What I wouldn't give for him versus like Roderick Strong or basically anybody, like give me Mad Dog Connolly versus like Roosh or Mark Briscoe. Give me basically anybody you want against Beast Mordos, please.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how those shows shake out. I'll be watching. If they're able to be watched live, that's not even a question. I'll watch them.
I don't know if you saw, but Samurai has aired the Lucha Festival show from Ryogoku. So there was some footage going around today of the Hayabusa versus Masato Tanaka match.
Okay.
Seemed pretty cool. I mean, he's got all the movements down. Like he enters the ring the same way. He starts the match off with a plancha wearing his entrance gear, which is a reference to his Super J Cup match against Liger in the same building.
Yep.
So the 450 looks good. Yeah, everything I saw looked pretty good. And then today, I think it was the 01 did a show at like a shrine or something. Which
they
looked
do
like
those. Yeah.
which looked like a very cool venue. And I think he was in Hayabusa was in like a 6-man tag, and on the other side was Tanaka. I think Calvin Tankman was involved in it as well.
He's really good. I like him.
Yeah, but the thing about this Hayabusa is like we've had Hayabusa Sito before. When Izaki was still alive. That was I don't
Oh
think it
God, that
was
piece of shit Shane Mercer was in that match.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Huh. Who was the do you remember who Hayabusa Sito was? Was it Razi? Was that his name?
I
It wasn't the
don't
other
actually
dude.
remember who it was.
Suji, it wasn't him. But there's like two M-Pro guys. Were the M-Pro that we used to get around all the time, everywhere. They used to work together. They were in like Old Japan and Hustle and
Yeah, I know it wasn't Takuya Sugi. I don't know what the fuck ever happened to that guy.
they seemed I don't know, both of those guys seemed like intertwined and like seemed really wasn't he accused of like putting the weed and the painting of
Yep.
Nosawa and Io Shirai, yeah.
It was Rase, by the way, that was Hayabusa
Hayabusa.
Sito.
Yeah. So the idea of like the being a new Hayabusa isn't really anything new, but obviously it hasn't happened since he's passed away. But if they're gonna do this, then I would like to see this guy stay as Hayabusa for a while. I don't want this to be another like few matches or a few months or even a year and then he's gone. Like if you're gonna do it, just go all the way with it. Why not? Um, you got to get him in some death matches, I would think. I would imagine Onita would swim his way in there somehow. Um, and Onita at one point had his own Hayabusas. In his own Atsushi Onita FMW. I mean, so we'll see. Like I said, the first match looked pretty good. I'm gonna see if I can watch the full match. When we're done later tonight. He obviously had the fight with Dream song, which had like a piano intro, which was really cool. The crowd seemed really into his match. Like there was reports from the show that said fans are like crying, and it was like really memorable for them and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a cool thing. But like I said, I
Yeah.
think if you're gonna do it, you have to keep it around for a while. And I don't know how long it could be. It could go in 0-1. I think maybe they have to branch them out and make deals with other promotions and stuff like that. Um, I saw someone made a tweet about Hayabusa, and it seemed like Will Ospreay had liked the tweet. So I don't know if like he would like to work with them. I know he's done like Hayabusa tribute gear and stuff before, so
Yeah, like last year at Forbidden Door. Yeah.
it would be wild to see like a new Hayabusa on AEW and stuff like that. We'll see
It
what
would
happens with
be.
it.
Also, the smartass in me wants to say, like, I'm curious if this Hayabusa will be at his best in All Japan like the original was. Because, like, the best stuff with him legitimately are like those like World's Strongest Tag League runs and like the him and Shinzaki against Honda and Izumita at Korakuen Hall. Like those matches are fucking insane.
I feel with the way Noah is right now, someone like that would be a pretty good addition to Noah.
I don't want a new Hayabusa and like a Fed feeder though.
That's true. Yeah, I don't always remember the between Noah and WWE, but just based on that roster, I feel like it would be a good fit.
I know the Champion Carnival was going on recently. Have they fucking finished that yet? Did Hideki Suzuki say that doesn't work for me, brother, and win the Champion Carnival?
Maybe, I don't know.
Can Hideki Suzuki say that doesn't work for me, brother, and win the Champion Carnival?
I have no idea what's going on in All Japan right now.
I know that like everybody that I've seen talk about All Japan in the last like 2 years has been very complimentary of the product. The few matches I've been like, I watched when Yuma Anzai was Triple Crown champion. He had a defense against Hideki Suzuki that was really good. I want to say he beat Yuji Nagata for the belt. I know he had a match with Nagata that I saw that was like fucking tremendous. And I know one of the Saito brothers, who by the way they use Dream Warriors by Dokken as a theme song,
Oh, cool.
automatically like great wrestlers. I don't care what anybody says.
Isn't their father like Brazilian or something?
Maybe.
Forget where exactly one of the parents is from.
I know
All
there's
Japan,
speaking of Dream
like,
Warriors, there's a Nightmare on Elm Street 4K Steelbook box set coming this year, and apparently Warner Brothers is like putting some time in to make sure the transfers are good.
oh, nice. I saw there was a bunch of steelbook, or not steelbooks, but like 4K announcements. Like they're doing like the Jet Li collection. There's City on Fire, which I haven't seen in years, is coming to 4K. And there was rumors that Spawn is coming to 4K as well, the old live
From
action
Arrow
movie.
Video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw somebody somewhere was like, you have all these idiots asking if it's going to be the animated series. You do realize not everybody's like a diehard boutique Blu-ray collector. There are naturally going to be people that see the Spawn teaser and wonder what the fuck it actually is.
Yeah, it's a completely valid question.
When I got
I
into
like that
buying,
movie when
yeah,
I was a
it's nowhere
kid.
near as bad as The Reputation, honestly.
No, I used to watch it a lot.
Like, especially relative to other superhero movies of the 90s, there's not a fucking thing wrong with that movie.
No, I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Yeah, hopefully, before I'm 130, Todd gets
Yeah.
the King Spawn movie off the fucking ground. Oh, apparently Arrow also has 4Ks of Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell on the way.
I remember when the Friday the 13th game came out, I bought that and I took it to a friend's house, and I remember we were like going crazy over that game. And I don't know if it was his idea or my idea, but one of us really wanted to watch Jason X. And downloading that movie or like streaming it and watching that was really fun. That was a crazy movie.
I've only seen it one time, and I remember thinking it was kind of fucking bonkers.
Actually, one of the best things about that movie is it was like the inspiration for one of Muta's looks in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's his default in KOC 2, and we got an
Yeah,
action figure of it from CaraPro.
that's right. Yeah,
Man, I there's a website offering pre-orders for that Nightmare 4K box set, and
you've clicked add to cart, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. How much is it?
Look, 267, but it's 7 movies and they're steel books. So when
Hmm.
you look at like, I think the steelbook of Nightmare 1 that came out last year for the 40th anniversary, I want to say that retailed for $40. So like that feels pretty fair, I think, for
That's
7 movies.
that's probably like 1,200 Canadian about there. I would say maybe a little
I'm
less.
curious what. So it's going to be a steel box with 7 steel books inside, which totally is not begging for your shit to get scratched to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, steel on
You're
steel.
Yeah, you're totally not going to be fucking regretting that decision. Jesus Christ. But I have the box set that they did in like the late 90s, early 2000s. To me, that's still the definitive way to watch those movies. Um, I do not like the original Blu-ray set. I have it.
Me too.
I just they washed out and darkened Nightmare 4 to the point that it's like honestly a little bit like unrecognizable to my brain. Like it's so like dark and depressing, and it's supposed to be like the MTV nightmare. I know I've talked about this on the podcast before. I don't care. This is we're at the end of the podcast bullshit session anyway. Um, but I've always liked how that movie looked, and so when I saw the Blu-ray version, which is the version they use whenever it airs on like Sci-Fi or something now, um, I get a little upset because like when I see it now, because it's like that's not how this movie's supposed to look. And I've heard people talk about like unrated content from like Nightmare 1 making it into the 4K Blu-ray. Are we going to get all the cut material from Nightmare 5 Dream Child? Like the extra gore and the deaths, the scene that only airs on like the TV cut. Are we gonna put that kind of legwork in for this one?
I mean, you should realistically. I mean, all of these 4Ks should have like shit like that. If you remember, the Halloween had the TV version as well. I know we
Yeah,
both bought that, which was like a super cool thing. Yeah, every one of these 4Ks that comes out now should have just be packed with everything that you can imagine. It's like when I used to buy DVDs when they were new, and like I know I've mentioned this before, but like Superman Returns had like hours and hours of extras. It was crazy. And then it felt like when Blu-rays came out for a while, you would get that, and then it just sort of like dried up. Like I bought Blade Runner 2049, you'd think I'd be piled up with stuff, and there's like hardly anything on it, and you can watch it all in like 45 minutes or whatever. It's like super disappointing. So I miss that, like buying a DVD or Blu-ray and just being spending like forever on the special features. I mean, another one like Infamous is like all the releases of Terminator 2, right? With all behind the scenes, you could like watch that for forever. So yeah, they all should have these sort of things.
I think it's why I care so much about like getting the bootlegs of like old WWF shows at this point.
Yeah.
Like I the people that do like the dub stuff, they're the ones doing God's work because we're getting the best quality footage with the original audio and cut segments and stuff put back in.
Hmm.
And like I was mentioning previously, I hate that I can't get you into that group because I think you'd probably go wild on some of those like restoration projects. But those also I think end up making their way to like XWT classics too. So
Yeah,
You
the
know?
problem with WT is that some of that stuff doesn't get seeded as it should. There was something on there recently that I tried to download and couldn't get anything off of it, unfortunately.
Oh,
Um,
that sucks.
yeah, I mean, I watch sometimes like the WCW streams on the Vault or on WCW channel on YouTube. I was watching it the other night, but like I do wish like you could have like the most complete versions of everything. Even if you've got to put in like old looking footage, like some of the re dub, like they'll add something in that doesn't match like the rest of the quality because it's from like the network or whatever.
A
I just want everything.
VHS.
Yeah, I just want everything complete. And whenever you're watching, even if it is complete, sometimes when I'm watching something from WWE, I feel like there's something missing because I don't really know for sure. And like
Right, yeah.
my brain has conditioned me to be like, oh, there's something wrong with this, you know?
You know what blew my mind was when I saw all the changes that were made to Mania 4. The network version, and granted, some of this is like Coliseum video stuff being added in. The network version's missing like an hour and like 10 minutes or whatever of footage of just
It's
like
crazy.
segments that got cut out. And it's like, where the fuck did it go? like, like I get that like the Coliseum video exclusive stuff's like a weird thing of like maybe they don't actually have that stuff anymore. But
Yeah.
like the where like what the world is watching intro, why the fuck is that gone? Y'all have
Yeah,
that shit.
I have no idea. I don't like it with New Japan as well, like where the intros are cut out. I mean, for obvious reasons because of the music, but like I said, I want like the most complete version of everything. So like if you've got a big match, I want like the intros, even if you have to replace the music, and then I want like the interviews backstage after the match, which you would get from like World Pro Wrestling, right? Um, and it just sucks that that's not all available.
Mm, yeah. My big thing is like those old Coliseum video like promos and stuff. I feel like Survivor Series 88 actually loses a little bit when you don't have that Jake promo.
Yeah.
If anybody's ever seen Survivor Series 88 from the Coliseum video version, you know what I'm talking about. He cuts this fucking awesome promo that never airs on TV. And it's basically like it's the thing that sets up the Andre feud,
Hmm.
and it's so good. And like those matches aren't good, obviously, but like that promo, it's Jake Roberts for fuck's sake.
I haven't.
Speaking of, oh, go on.
I was just gonna say I haven't watched it yet, but I downloaded a specific version of WrestleMania 1 from Pittsburgh because I was like, where else are you gonna get that? I mean, you think if they released WrestleMania 1 on like a Blu-ray or 4K, you would think like you would hope that everything from that would be on there, right? Like every piece of WrestleMania 1 media, but they would never release something like that. So it's like
I
I
was
gotta
gonna say
grab
you'd
something of that.
hope, but I heard about that SummerSlam '92 UK exclusive 30th anniversary Blu-ray they did, and
Yeah.
not great. They
Uh
did put the dark matches in, though, I was told. So yeah, shout
yeah.
outs. And some of the TV leading into it too, which yeah, that's more than I expected them to do. But like when tape traders pick up the slack to the extent that like here's an old pay-per-view with like 3 discs of all of the shit that led to the pay-per-view. And I know WWE doesn't do physical media
Hmm.
but this is also why AEW should step their shit the fuck up. Like when tape traders are able to do a pay per view with all the contextual build, and they're not using any footage that the promotion itself doesn't already own, and people are willing to pay $40, $50 for these things, why the fuck aren't you doing it too?
Yeah, it's like they're putting all this stuff too for free on the Vault on the WCW channel. It's like you can actually make some money off that, like some really good money if you put a lot of this stuff on Blu-ray and shit like that. Also, you need to
I
get on that guy
remember
for the Hogan and Warrior set. You need to get on him to add the hard cam because that shouldn't be missing.
I mentioned it to him, and he's like, "Ah, I forgot about that. I'll look into it."
Oh, nice, good.
Um, the thing about it is like in the mid 2000s when like the TV season set thing exploded,
Yeah,
everybody thought we were like obviously with the WWF stuff, it would have been a little dicey, but everybody was like they could totally do box sets of Raw and Nitro and all of this stuff, and they never did. And I mean, they did the WrestleMania anthology, which was $250. I have the Royal Rumble anthology, the box set. I think I've told the story about getting that. If not, indulge me for a moment. That shit was like $300. and it was on Walmart's website for like 180, and like FedEx next day shipping was like $9. I have no idea how I lucked into this, but I showed that to my mom, and I was like, "That's less than $10 per Royal Rumble," because there were 20 of them at that point, and it was going to be like, I think after tax, it was like 190 something. It was like ridiculously, like it was over $100 off of what the fucking retail was.
Yeah.
And mom was just like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like, so like they did those expensive box sets, and it's like they could have just as easily done like, here's Nitro 95. That's 3 months worth of shows. You factor in like dual layer DVDs is what they used as a standard. That's like a 4 disc set. You could have put that out.
They did do like season 1 of Raw, right?
No, they did the best of Raw 93 and 94, which was a 4 disc set.
Oh, that sucks.
I loved that set because, like, if you had the Coliseum Video Monday Night Raw Prime cuts, that felt like an updated version of it
Hmm.
because a lot of overlap. But also with that set, you got like the Bret Hart Tom Pritchard match, which I'm sure was just them trying to get Tom a check. But like, what a fucking match! Also, like, the first time they released 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Brett on DVD was that Raw 15th anniversary DVD. So it had the stupid pop up facts, like it was pop up video on fucking VH1.
Right. Yeah.
And that set was the first time you got that match like clean. Like it's just there's no bullshit on the screen other than what's supposed to be there. And I remember my mom took me to Walmart at like 11:30 at night to fucking get that set. That was a stupid fucking night. But I remember mom being like, because I saw it at the store earlier in the day, and I was like, I kind of want that, but I already had Raw 94 on DVD. And I was like, it'll be fine. And then like that night, I was like, fuck, I really wish I got it. And mom was just passing through the house. I'm like, hey, do you mind like taking me to Walmart to get that? And she was like, yeah, we'll go get it. And I was like, cool. And I got it. And I burned through that set in like probably like a day and a half. Like I literally just like ran the discs. Because I used to be able to do that. I used to like if I got a comp from somebody, like when I got the couple of discs of B Newt's Vader and Sting comp, I watched both discs back to back. I was like, this is so great. You give me that same comp now, I'm going for the shit that I know is good.
Yeah.
I'm popping that. Like, I know I'm going to sit there and binge watch those Inoki discs when they come in July. But also, like, when I got the 60th anniversary set, every match on that set I like. But the day I got it, when I got home from work, I just started cherry picking like the high end Billy Robinson hour draw, like the Fujinami match from '85. I was like, I don't have time for anything else other than what I know is the best shit on here. And then I eventually went back and just batted clean up. Same thing with the foreign wrestler sets last year. I didn't sit and run those discs. I mean, the Funks disc I did, but like the rest of it, it was like I'm gonna watch like 1 or 2 matches from each guy and just keep it fucking moving.
Yeah.
Because I'm old and I don't have the attention span anymore. And there's
Oh,
a chance
do
that
I.
I think there's a chance like a match will pop up and I'm like, oh, this is a really good match, and I'm misremembering it for another match 2 guys might have had. So I could end up wasting like 30 minutes of my life on some bullshit, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I get you.
Oh, also, when I was watching WrestleMania 6, I think it was this morning. No, it was yesterday. I watched the Jake and Ted DiBiase match, which I huge fan of both those guys. That match fucking rules, and I wish people talked about it more. Because Jake cuts like in the pantheon of like all time great wrestling promos. That one's like, you know, you have like the wall of like the employee of the month type things, and it's like this is our wall of fame. That promo would be on that wall because it's fucking great. It's like it's shit that only Jake Roberts would come up with, and it's awesome, and he delivers it in that fucking voice. And then they have a match that's like rock solid, beginning to end. It feels like a struggle. Both guys are going for their shit. A little bit of Virgil silliness. They do the count out finish, and then Virgil runs off with the belt, but then he makes a mistake of coming back, and then Jake chases after him with the fucking snake. Like that match is so goddamn good. And I feel like the narrative for like six is that like, well, the main events, it's the Dave thing. Hogan and Warrior is a 4-star match the first time you watch it. Then it's a 2.5-star match. That's bullshit. That match is great. It shouldn't be. We saw what happened 8 years later.
Well, they didn't
But that
try to throw any
match,
fireballs in this match, so.
no, but also Hogan does everything possible to fuck Warrior over after that match.
Oh, yeah.
And people can talk about like Warrior didn't draw as champion. Here's the thing. He got completely big dicked by Hogan after the match. And then, like, what do they do with him right after that? He goes, like, on TV, he's working with the fucking Heenan family, which is the same shit people had been seeing Hogan do for years. And I know coming out of Mania 6, the idea was like, it's the new Heenan family. Then why the fuck's he working with the guys that have been in the Heenan family for years? Haku and then Rick Rude, who he just worked with a year earlier.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Are you going to buy it? If you bought a ticket in 1989 to see Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude, are you going to buy another ticket in 1990 to see him fight for a fucking belt yet again? No, you're not. I've already seen this. Now, if they would have run like Warrior versus Barbarian, I don't think that match would have been very fucking good, but that's a match. Or
Yeah, I mean,
if they didn't piss all over Kurt Hennig at WrestleMania 6, and then again 4 weeks later on Saturday Night's Main Event, you could have maybe ran the summer with fucking Warrior and Perfect champion versus champion matches.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know. What do I know? I'm just an idiot that was born a year later. But I think that would have been fucking. It was the Savage problem, right? Mania 4, Hogan goes away. Savage is the champion. Hogan makes the whole fucking thing about himself. And then what does Savage do? House shows with Ted DiBiase. So that match you just saw. It's fucking stupid. I love that era of the WWF, but when people shit on like Savage for not drawing, it's like, take the 10,000-foot view. Easy to figure out. Warrior didn't draw. Get back up to 10,000 feet. Well, Bret Hart didn't draw. Do you need to take the elevator again? There are fucking reasons for this shit. And also, Bret wasn't meant to be the Hogan level draw. He was meant to stop the fucking bleeding, which he did.
Also, like, when it comes to who draws and who didn't draw then, like, I don't care. I was a little kid. I just want to go back to it for nostalgia. I mean, I don't really give a shit about the business side of it, to be honest.
No, I think it's fascinating when people try to put their hat on and like, well, this guy was a bad wrestler because he didn't draw. Well, there's typically reasons.
Yeah, it's like that for everything, man. I mean,
and
sometimes
like
it's
the
just
people that are like,
overbearing.
well, this guy's the highest strong wrestler, so he's the greatest. Like, that is okay. If you want to talk, okay, listen, bud. You want to talk about like fucking who drew the most people? Inoki Bombaye, baby.
It's like when people argue like, "Oh, this movie made more money at the box office, so it's better than this movie." It's like that means
Okay, well,
at one point in time, the best movie in the world was like Transformers. I don't think that's accurate.
Avengers Endgame, even adjusted for inflation, grossed like probably several hundred times more than the Warriors did. The Warriors
Yeah.
is a better movie.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that
it's
was always my thing
stupid.
when people would get stupid with me about like, especially on like those old Filsinger games boards. Which goddamn, I'm so glad I wish I still played the Legends of Wrestling card game because they've had some really crazy signings over the last few years. Like they did Bruno Sammartino, they did Paul Orndorff. That's cool. But like those boards are full of like some real dumb motherfuckers. And one of them tried to tell me, you can't say Terry Gordy's a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan because Terry Gordy never wrestled on WrestleMania. And I was like, so I can't tell you that fucking John Ritter's not a better actor than, and I don't remember who the example was, but I was like, because he wasn't in fucking like Star Wars? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, that's fed brained right there.
Yeah, like somewhere along the line, people started to judge art by how much it made. Like when I see people talk about like Batman Hush 2 doing like 400,000 units, which some of that was like the variant cover silliness. Like if you buy this many, you can get this variant, so your comic shop can make this much money. Like, okay, it sold 400,000 units, and so did Absolute Batman. I've read both books. Absolute Batman #1 smokes Hush 2 issue 1 in every conceivable way except artwork, because you
Hmm.
can't beat Jim Lee. You just can't. I'm sorry. But even like the video game stuff, like, oh well, that Prince of Persia, the side-scrolling one, Lost Crown. I saw people like, well, that game failed and people lost their jobs. That game sucked, and it's like, no, that game rules. Hi-Fi
Yeah,
Rush didn't sell a shit ton of units. That developer got shuttered. People lost their jobs, except not really, because they ended up being saved in the end. People seem to think Hi-Fi Rush was a pretty fucking good game, though.
yeah. I've given up on trying to understand that thought process. You know, sales and just doesn't equal quality. I mean, it never has.
No,
I'm not saying
no.
that just
Artistic merit does not come down to fucking how much income something grows. That's
yeah,
moronic.
and obviously you have some things that are really good that do really well, and that's great. But there's a lot of stuff that has done really well. I don't think it's very good.
Also, speaking of things that are like the greatest, I saw the majors. They got in their birthday about like Mattel got the extension. So these are the greatest wrestling figures ever. And I was like, I don't think they are. And someone on Instagram was like, you can say there are things you like more, but these are the best figures ever. Now, to make an empirical statement like that, there would have to be an objective, like a way to objectively quantify what is the best. Um, Here's my take. It should not have taken 15 years to get an accurate 1990 Ultimate Warrior head sculpt, and even still, the hair isn't particularly accurate.
Mm.
It's 2025. Why is Classic Superstars 1 Ultimate Warrior from 2004 a more accurate looking Ultimate Warrior? It's 2025. Bill's been working on Bret Hart figures for 15 years now. We haven't had one head sculpt that looks like him. Classic Superstars one, the very first one, that sure looks like mid 90s Bret, though. Why greatest wrestling figure line ever? Why did it take 15 years and 2 designers to get a Stone Cold Steve Austin that didn't look like he was fucking skin and bones, like he was goddamn Spinal from Killer Instinct in a skin suit? 15 years. Why do we not have a single good classic Shawn Michaels head sculpt? 15 years. Why do they still give Eddie Guerrero a much bigger torso than he needs? With the exception being the new Ultimate that was shown. That one's actually appropriate. It's been 15 years. Why doesn't Eddie Guerrero get gold on his boots? It's been 15 years. Fucking why can they still not do a WrestleMania 20 Randy Orton accurately? It's been 15 years. I can fucking point at like so much different shit. It's been 15 years. Why is the neck articulation still rooted in like 2003 Jax bullshit? I saw that they said they put the neck disc like the AEW figures have and on the Ultimate Edition Bray Wyatt. And my immediate reaction was, congratulations, you finally caught up to Marvel Legends from 2003.
Yeah,
Greatest wrestling figure line, and the articulation is still playing catch up to toys that I had when I was in the 6th fucking grade.
that's another case of like not just like sales, but like also a case of where something's been around for a long time. Oh, it's got to be the best.
Mm. Like, I've said it on the podcast. I think the Zombie Sailor line hits basically every note that I need for like best like quality, names. The packaging obviously hits on a lot of things that are important to me as a collector because I love the Hasbro figures. The Pinnacle collection, obviously having the obvious Hasbro homage on like the backing card, I really think that's dope too. But like, I'm not going to tell somebody like you can't say the Hasbro line. Somebody was even like, Hasbro made what, 94 figures? Mattel's made literally thousands. Okay, cool. Why is it every Hasbro Ultimate Warrior is better than every Mattel Ultimate Warrior?
Hmm.
Why is it every Hasbro Hogan's better than every Mattel Hogan? Why is it every Hasbro Shawn Michaels is better than every Mattel Shawn Michaels? Same thing with Bret Hart. Basically, copy paste that with everybody that Hasbro made that Mattel's also made, except like Ric Flair. I'll give Mattel that one. They made a they've made a couple of good Ric Flairs, but like that new Foundation Jim Neidhart kind of sucks ass. The Hasbro one doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, Mattel Kamal is probably a wash because it's really hard to make a bad figure of him. He's very easy to get right. But like I don't think Mattel's done a Bruised Beefcake that's anywhere near as cool as the second Hasbro. I don't know. I feel like I'm being a contrarian, but like also I like a lot of stuff Mattel's done, but I can't overlook like how did they have access to Randy Savage for 13 years and they didn't make one head sculpt that looked like him at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they do some of the things they do. At the end of the day, it's, opinions, and you're always going to get people that
It's
are
preference,
championing.
yeah.
There's always going to be people that are like very hardcore championing for championing. I think is that a word?
Yes,
Anyway,
it is.
they're always going to cheer for like what is current, right? It's the same thing with WWE as a whole. It's like there's these multiple accounts that go crazy, and if you see anything negative about WWE, they call you every slur in the book because it's current and it's the best thing of all time, and you can't have any other opinion. It's just people are strange, dude.
It's very, very fucking silly. I I don't know, man. Like I said, Mattel does stuff that I think is cool,
Yeah,
but then there's like that click set where like the Sean head has like the hair down over part of his face. Like nobody is going to see that and clock like, oh, that's a Shawn Michaels head like mid match. People are
yeah.
gonna look at that and go, oh, that's weird. Like the Cody and Brandy with like the kissing faces, like probably best that that's like a Mattel Creations exclusive because if you put that on a retail shelf, people would be like, why the fuck? And like, do not get me wrong, like the Mattel line is basically our equivalent of like Star Wars the Black Series. They've hit so much of like the WWE's history or whatever, but I feel like they've gotten too reliant on like the weird like deep cut type stuff. And like the deep cut stuff's cool sometimes. I don't think you can do it all the time. And it seems like and we talked about this with the Monday Night War line, the Fatu set with like GI Bro. How are you not doing Rikishi and fucking like Final Nitro Booker? I know they've done Rikishi a couple of times, but like Final Nitro Booker's never been done. Why the fuck do we not have that?
Yeah, it's there's at one point where we were talking about Mitch as like the Wrestle Crop line, and Mattel's done like a lot of Wrestle Crop shit. Like first thing that pops in my mind is like the Goon. It's like how many did that sell? And GI Bro is another one. It's like really like that's your big idea for like a Monday Night War set. It's certainly not the first thing I would think of. Um,
Especially when you're releasing Scott Steiner.
yeah, exactly. Some of the choices are very strange.
Yeah, and I heard some of the stuff from the interview that they did for Figure Friday. Like they don't have the rights to make TNA figures, but apparently
Yeah.
Abyss might still be an option. Demolition are going to be mainline elites, which thank fuck. But Fuji's going to be a Legends line figure, and there was another note from that I'm completely blanking on right now. What the hell was it? Oh, they showed the Mattel Creations ECW CM Punk.
Right.
Same packaging scheme as the made to order Cody and Logan Paul. So I don't know if that's going to be made to order as well, or if that's going to be just like an in stock drop. It's a cool figure. My only reason to get it would be like that's an attire, especially if he doesn't have like the punk text on the back of his gear. That's basically just an ROH punk, and that's kind of cool. But they're also doing an ROH punk the defining moments line, so
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. But I don't think there's any other like has UPW done anything recently? I don't think Virtual Basement exists at all anymore.
Uh, UPW. I think there's just there was some talk recently about the demo and the how close it would be to releasing it and maybe the gameplay video hopefully releases soon. Um, we'll see. When's our next show gonna be?
What now?
When is our next show?
Our next show?
Yeah.
next week.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're available next week or not. So, do you think I should get our special guest for next week, possibly?
I would, yeah. I mean, I'm here for like the next 3 Sundays, so
Okay,
and I'll actually be able to record at our usual time slot. So
all right.
yeah, I mean, if you want to get our special guest, if not, I mean, we can just do another general bullshit episode, or I'll think of something in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
Um,
we could also ask them about UPW and their thoughts currently.
yeah, yeah, we could, but that'll be for next week or whenever we have that guest on. I don't have anything else. I've rambled for 2.5 hours now. It feels like. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. Uh, I'm blanking. Oh, DC Compact Kingdom come this Wednesday. Pick it up at your local comic shop or bookstore.
Yep, I'll be getting
And
mine.
me too. I still have all my books from this week. I paid for, but I didn't go get them because I was just like, fuck it. I had a sunburn and I didn't want to deal with anybody on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. So I was just like, fuck it. I'll stay. I'll stay home and I'll just have a big drop this coming Wednesday when I go pick them up. But until then, until next time, take care. Don't be an asshole and fuck the alt right.